wait to wake up.
Wake up, idiot.
Man, oh man, what a night last night in Cambridge. I tell you, KB, we came in here yesterday. We came in here on a Reaction Monday. And you feel pretty good about the Colts, do you not? 4 straight wins. Jacksonville, they lost last night, so you feel good. We talked about that yesterday. And then you come in here today, and we didn't know how it was going to go in Cambridge with the Celtics coming into town. The first half a little uneven, but wow, that second half, what a night for the Pacers. What a night for Pacer fans, who it's been a while since you have seen quite a game like that. Haliburton, fantastic. And off to Vegas go the Indiana Pacers, and we'll talk about it here, I'm sure, over the next 3 hours. It's the wake-up call. Kevin Bowen, Andy Sweeney, what's going on, KB? Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Kylan, good morning as well, as she continues to fill in for Mark Dykton.
What a week for Dykton to be off, by the way.
Well,
like everything's happening.
Will the Pacers head to Disney if they win this in-season tournament? Maybe they'll meet Mark.
I told Kylan, I go, we have 17 sounds today, so since the Pacers won, a lot to get through.
Yeah, and just a lot of highlights. And I think, obviously, the win speaks for itself, Andy. The environment, the intensity. There was some defense played last night.
There were defensive chants last night like it was 1997.
Early in the game, defensive chants. And honestly, two things. One, you punched back in the fourth quarter. You know, you had gotten that 11-point lead. You're thinking, here you go. You extend the lead with Haliburton out there late third quarter. And then Boston says, this is why we're number one in the Eastern Conference. This is why we're probably the NBA favorite this season. But you then answer that call in the final 90 seconds saying, no, we can punch back. And obviously Haliburton's 4-point play speaks for itself. And then lastly, Andy, the other thing that really stood out to me is how many times in an NBA arena over the course of the year do you hear a fan base chant MVP for their star player? Like, it's kind of turned into the universal thing, right?
Joel Embiid, I'm sure Luka gets
Shai
it.
Gilgeous-Alexander has a 40-point night, and next thing you know, Thunder Nation is chanting MVP. Last night, Haliburton deserved the hell out of that chant. He is unquestionably one of the most valuable players in the NBA. There is no debate about it. He's a guy that's been outspoken about wanting this opportunity. And, Andy, it's one thing to speak that and to verbally kind of put it out there publicly. And he's done that at every stop. And it's another thing to back it up. And it sounded like a little bit of a flu game. The dude had to have an inhaler at halftime to get him through that effort, his first ever triple-double. And how about the 0 on the box score for him? 0 turnovers against Drew Holiday.
Well, I'm watching that game, and so, it's interesting. If you think being on national TV, and by the way, you're spot on. The Pacers have not shied away from, we want to win. We want to be on national television. We want people to know who we are. And I think Haliburton with it, whether it be a little bit of Team USA over the summer or what he has done specifically in the month of November and now, of course, into December, he has said, I want to be known. And so for, I guess for me, I'm watching him. People know I'm following the Pacers now and here in Indy, and I'm loving it. And, they're like, okay, I haven't seen a ton of Haliburton, right? I mean, if you don't have Bally's and if you're not watching it all the time, and they're like, I can't wait to see Haliburton and see what this team is all about. And, you get to halftime, the Pacers are down 7. Haliburton has, 7.6 rebounds, couple assists, which is a nice line. I'm not acting like he would not get a double-double, but it wasn't the force. It wasn't the offense. It wasn't the type of team that we had seen for the majority of the season. And then the second half, wow, in that second half, and I don't know about you, but I think the guy I want to get on the show more than anybody is Haliburton's dad.
Oh, he's nuts.
I love that guy.
Sitting there baseline.
Yeah.
How about you at Haliburton's family?
I love the guy.
At Haliburton's family in their usual spots, did you happen to see Shaq Leonard next to the Boston basket there?
Oh, yeah.
How about Shaq? Celebrates his one-year deal with the Eagles. I assume he'll fly to Philly today for that.
One more time out before he goes to Philly last night. Is that what it was? One more time downtown Indy?
One more time out with the misses. What an atmosphere. And Andy, I've talked about this in this Pacers rebuild. Massive credit to Kevin Pritchard, because to execute a rebuild, you've got to lose. Like, that is the sad reality of it. You have to get high enough draft picks to try and rebuild, and they did that. But now this season is about doing some winning and experience those nights and get into, yesterday at this time, Andy, I said, okay, what do I want to see from the Pacers tonight? I want to see the final media timeout. TNT, Bally comes back from that timeout, and the crowd is on its feet. And you have game pressure moments, and you did. Tied up with a little over 90 seconds to go. Shot clock's winding down. It was kind of funny how all of a sudden a switch happens, and if you're Boston, you like what you got. You got Jaylen Brown back on Haliburton, not Al Horford on him. Shot clock's winding down. Haliburton's not in his normal kind of quarterback flow, and next thing you know, he throws it up. It goes in, the 4-point play, and probably the loudest that building has been since their last playoff win in 2018. So what a night, 11-8 on the year. Again, these games do count for the overall season record, so it's important for that as well. Andy, they now are off to Vegas. That is a very odd start time, by the way, on Thursday. It is a 5 p.m. Eastern start time.
Oh, wow. Is it? Get JMV off the air then. Wow. How about that?
No matter what happened. This is the Eastern Conference slot. Eastern Conference at 5. I think the West is like at 9. So, again, Bucks, Knicks tonight. Pacers will play the winner of that game in Vegas. If they win, Saturday's the title game. And remember, Saturday's game is the only extra game. That would be the 83rd game that wouldn't count towards your overall season record. If you lose, there's no third place game. So you're only in Vegas. Mercifully, Rick Carlisle's thinking, wait a minute, we're in Miami, now we're going to Vegas.
From South Beach to Vegas. Yeah. How about that?
You might need inhalers for everybody on your basketball team for that one. So 5 o'clock tip time on Thursday. But boy, just a special night. Credit to Rick Carlisle. Credit to the Pacers team. Tyrese Haliburton cutting through it. I thought Aaron Nesmith was great.
He was fantastic.
Quarter. I thought Bruce Brown kind of set a tone early of like, guys, I've been in these environments. Let me kind of lead a little bit early. And it was funny. You get to the end of the first quarter, Andy. It's 24-22.
Like, what kind of game is this?
I'm like, this is defense. This is playoff intensity.
1998. What are we doing here?
Turn back the clock.
Market Square Arena. That's what I was thinking. Well, to a certain extent, for me, I'm happy the Pacers did what they did. You know why? Because people have not seen the Pacers as much as we have. We know that even if he had an off game, let's say that Haliburton had a bad game and it came out that he was really sick and he had an off game, which, of course, in an 82 game or perhaps an 83 game schedule now for the Pacers, they could have. It'd be one of those things, well, that's too bad that they kind of had the eyes of the nation on them and they didn't take advantage of it. And quite frankly, that's a little bit of what I was thinking in the first half, was it not? It's like this is not the normal Pacer game. I mean, how many quarters? I should have looked this up. I feel stupid not doing it. How many Pacer quarters have they scored 48 or really close to 48 points, KB? I mean, they've had quarters to where
Miami scored 45 in the fourth quarter.
They've had quarters to where they have been up around 48 points, definitely over 40, and I'm thinking this is the Celtics type of game. They've kind of drugged the game not into the mud, but they mucked it enough. The announcers, I think Greg Anthony, kept mentioning how the Pacers first half were scoring so late in the shot clock, slowing the game down, lessening possessions a little bit, and you could tell Carlisle was kind of managing Haliburton a little bit at the beginning, maybe with some of the minutes. He talked about that post game, but in that second half, we saw what we have seen so very often, and there's no doubt. We have talked about with the Colts changing a culture, and that has happened here with the Pacers, but the Pacers now are known as having a true superstar in Tyrese Haliburton.
And a closer.
Yeah, and a closer. And that was a big part of it.
Is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Especially playoff
time. And I really feel like, that's a step that has happened thus far this season. Some culture, some winning. When they lose, Rick Carlisle comes on this air and is not happy about it. And then having that star and having that closer, I think those are foundational pieces. And last night helped with those foundational pieces. I believe that.
Unquestionably. A great night inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Shout out to everyone in the building. The atmosphere was outstanding. So again, 5 o'clock on Thursday for the Pacers as we look ahead to this week. It was a busy night from a local impact standpoint, if you want to go there. Purdue bounces back. They roll Iowa there. They expand their lead without Zach Edey in that first half.
They smoked Iowa.
Yeah, they
wow.
absolutely dominated Fran. Did you see Fran got he got a tech? I believe I said it would happen at the 12:30 mark.
You did. What time did it end up
being?
First
half? I think it was 11:30.
Was it really?
So
okay.
Missed it by a minute.
I'm going to go back and look because you were close.
On the Fran technical there. And then Monday Night Football last night. Prime time last night, Andy. Prime time Thursday night. Colts impact in both of those games. I walk away from last night, and for those that missed it, Cincinnati and Jacksonville. Cincinnati wins in overtime. Good news for the Colts. Bad news for the Colts. I'm asking you that question.
I know.
Let me provide context to our audience that did not see what happened. Jake Browning for Cincinnati looked like Joe Burrow. He was outstanding in that game. It was dink and dunk central early for him, and then he made some big time throws throughout, and they won a shootout.
He was 32. He was 32 of 37. It needs to be said. He threw for 354 yards last night.
Outstanding by Jake Browning, and late in that game, Trevor Lawrence goes down, and it looked ugly. I was unsure why Jacksonville couldn't get a cart for the franchise quarterback to get him into the locker room. Calling it a limp would be putting it lightly.
He's going to miss time.
Ankle sprain is the early diagnosis. My uneducated medical opinion would say very high ankle sprain on that. So basically, I set it up for you, Andy, and say good or bad. Cincinnati's now 6-6. You're 7-5. You play them Sunday. The winner of that game is above the other one in the standings because Cincinnati would, if they win, they tie you record-wise, and they would have the head-to-head tiebreaker. Jacksonville is now 8-4. The Colts are 7-5. The Texans are 7-5. All of a sudden, is the door of the AFC South cracked open at all from last night? Like I mentioned on yesterday's show, do you get greedy? Do you cheer for Cincinnati? You might let them in the wild card picture, but the AFC South could be open, and now you have the injury to the most important player in the division.
Okay, so I thought Jacksonville was going to win this game. We'll get to those gutless Jacksonville Jaguars in the 8 o'clock hour because they cost me.
I know why.
They cost me a lot of money last night. It ain't good, okay? So we'll crush them. But Jacksonville, I'm looking at it right now. I mean, Trevor Lawrence threw his helmet. Other players are kind of kneeling around him. You have to think he misses time. By the way, they're in Cleveland, and then they're home to the Ravens. And I didn't think they were going to win both of those games anyway. And now if you go in there, who's the backup there? I feel like I should know. It's like a familiar name there.
C.J. Beathard.
C.J. Beathard, of course, because we talked about him when Trevor Lawrence went down earlier in the season. We thought he was going to miss time. I think he got injured on like a Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I was very much, and I think you were too, were you not last night? Hey, go ahead and just get Cincinnati out of the way.
Yeah,
make them 5-7.
Right.
Show that they're not going to win a damn thing with Jake Browning and kind of move them out of the way. And I guess part of me still feels that way, Kevin. But the flip side is now that Jacksonville has lost, it's a game difference you absolutely can dream. But then you throw on top of it, and I take no joy in it, the Trevor Lawrence injury is a massive injury. I mean, obviously, when any starting quarterback goes down, not everyone is going to have a Gardner Minshew or a Josh Dobbs or some of these other guys. Maybe Browning is one of those guys for the Bengals. We should watch them. But I guess I wake up this morning feeling that Cincinnati is still not going to make the playoffs, even though they won that crazy game last night. I guess I still feel that way. I'm still skeptical of Jake Browning. And then I go and I look at Trevor Lawrence, if he doesn't play, and he's going to miss at least a little bit of time, you'd imagine, there's potential at Cleveland, Ravens, and then in Tampa Bay. Those all three could be losses. Now I'm starting to get greedy. Yesterday I was not greedy, but I wake up today getting a little greedy. But the flip side is, and I want to talk about this later, you have to feel a little bit different about Cincinnati after last night.
Yeah, I would say the only good news is that game went 68 minutes.
Yeah, you have to.
It went overtime, and they've got to travel home, and now they have a short week. That would probably be the only good news I can point to. But the thing that I always thought we weren't acknowledging with Cincinnati is, yes, it's Jake Browning, but Andy, it's still Joe Mixon.
I know.
It's still Jamar Chase. It's still T. Higgins.
Chase was great.
Tyler Boyd. I mean, all three of those dudes made some big-time catches. I know their defense has struggled this year, but they've got some dudes that you just get it in the general vicinity of them. and they go show you why they are that talented. So we will certainly hit on that today. And also, it is a late one tonight. Whether you're going to Hinkle, 8:30, Butler and Buffalo, Thad Matta joining us coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. We will give away a 4-pack of tickets, either to tonight's game, if you would like that, or Saturday they've got Cal. So we'll do a 4-pack of tickets to the Butler game, again, either tonight or coming up tomorrow. On Saturday, I should say, for that Cal game. And Andy, we teased it yesterday for IU fans. Get the Peacock subscription ready. It is a 9 o'clock tip for Indiana at Michigan tonight, and that game is exclusively on Peacock.
Do they have replays in case I fall asleep in the second half? I'm asking because I don't know. If I log on to Peacock, can I get the replay the next morning?
I would hope for $5.99 a month or whatever it is. What is Peacock a month? Do we know?
I think it started at $3, and I think it's now up to $6. They got me where it's automatically drawing out of my Apple account. They got my credit card on file.
Oh, sure.
So I see the email once every month. $6.99. Like, all right, see you later.
Yeah. When Little Gas inserts you into the nursing home, you're still going to be getting.
It'll be
billed for the old Peacock.
It'll be $42.99 by the time I'm in the nursing home, hopefully.
Watch out for the roads this morning. A little bit of rain. I think a little bit of slickness in some areas as well. We're starting to get into that time of year, so certainly keep an eye on that. But we have got a loaded one for you. Greg Doyle at 8:30. It's kind of our monthly appearance with Gregg. Coming up, Thad Matta at 9. DeForest Buckner at 9:45. We'll recap the Colts' 4-game win streak with number 99 as he welcomes back Grover Stewart. In that one, a fresh Grover Stewart against a tired Bengals offensive line. I would like to think for the Colts that should be an advantage coming up on Sunday. But certainly a ton to recap from the great game last night inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, a wild Monday nighter, and Purdue bouncing back inside of Mackey. Thanks for spending this Tuesday morning with us. Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton, Kylan Talley here on The Wake Up Call with KB and Andy. standard for hair restoration.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, morning checkdown. Reminder, Greg Doyle coming up at 8:30. Thad Matta at 9 o'clock. DeForest Buckner coming your way at 9:45. So we are absolutely loaded today. Fun one last night in Cambridge, 122-112. That's your final. The Pacers moved to 11-8 on the season, and off to Vegas they go. Now the 3, the and 1 that made it, 108-105. That's the conversation piece. We have a couple different sound bites we're going to play. So this first one is Bally's. This is how it sounded on Bally's last night.
That's the important thing.
Horford is out there on him. Buddy will set the screen. They back off. Haliburton for three.
A potential 4-point play there.
So you love that. So that's how it sounded there. And then on the Fan last night, the radio network, here's how that sounded as well. Clip 13. Haliburton and 1, 108-105.
Penalty from here on out. Bounce comes in, near sideline. Bruce Brown has it. He'll lob it back up top. Haliburton working off a Turner screen. Horford switches out. Haliburton bouncing and looking and launching and scoring! Scoring! And a foul! A 3-ball and a foul!
So that's how it sounded locally, TV and radio.
It's outstanding by Mark Boyle right there. Just hearing the crowd anticipation. I think part of that might be not only Haliburton's got the ball, but the shot clock was kind of winding down as well. Again, Andy, MVP chance more than deserved. You could hear him from Martinsville to Muncie last night. 26 points. 13 rebounds, 10 assists for Tyrese Haliburton, 0 turnovers in the game. And for those that missed it, he had to have an inhaler at halftime. Said he had issues breathing in the first half. Again, coming off that illness. It sounded like he was really sick in Miami. And so, I know Rick said to us yesterday, I think he's going to go, but this was not just a guarantee that he was going to play in this one. So the Pacers get one of their best wins in quite some time over Boston last night. They punched back several times in the second half to get that victory. That was a $50,000 win, if you want to look at it like that, Andy Sweeney. They are off to the semifinals in Vegas. $100,000 to teams that lose in the semifinals, each player on the team. $200,000 to the runner-up, and then $500,000 to the winner. So again, 5 o'clock Thursday, Vegas. That's only national television. So that will be ESPN against the winner of tonight's other semifinal, Milwaukee and New York. And the other game last night, it was Pelicans over Kings. They will await the winner of Lakers and Suns. Saturday will be the championship game in Vegas.
Swoosh us, Sky. There we go.
And last night, I guess let's just go up to Mackey first. Let's keep it local before we go to Monday Night Football. Purdue all over Iowa last night. They jumped on them early, and then they expanded that lead with Zach Edey on the bench. Certainly a good sign there for the Boilers. Edey was tremendous, 25-12. He missed one shot from the field. Lance Jones was 17. And Andy Sweeney, Fran McCaffrey's technical came 1 minute after what I thought.
I can't believe you were so spot on with that.
I thought 12:30 mark of the first half. 11:30 mark of the first half for Fran.
By that much.
You really did. How many games will he not have Zach Edey a double-double? There's only one game thus far. He had 18-8 against Morehead State, which was the second game of the year. He only 24 minutes.
Unless he sits due to cupcake one more time or two, he'll have a double-double.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering, would you put the over at 2.5? There's going to be a couple games. Yeah, they'll be up 25 points and all 9 rebounds or something like that. It's unbelievable.
They go north of the border coming up on Saturday. Obviously, a big one for Edey, as it'll be Alabama, that game in Toronto coming up on Saturday for the Boilers. And tonight, again, late starts. If you're a Butler fan, it's an 8:30 tip with Buffalo. Thad Matta coming up in a little bit. We'll give away tickets to that one or the Cal game, whichever one works best for your schedule, coming up later this week. And in Ann Arbor, it will be Indiana against Michigan. 6.5-point underdog. Are you surprised by that at all? Michigan is 500 on the year.
I guess I'm not, just because they think playing on the road means a ton. So I'm not surprised by that. I don't know which way I would lean. I've seen Michigan twice. I saw them early in the year. They played well, and then the other time they played bad. They played poorly. So I'm not exactly sure what Michigan is. Probably an NIT team.
And we'll see about Xavier Johnson and his availability as well.
All right, Monday Night Football, 34-31. Bengals winners. Game-winning field goal there in overtime over Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence with an injury. It did not look good at all. C.J. Beathard played. Actually, didn't play terrible. 9 of 10 in relief. But the big story there is not only the loss, what does it mean for the Colts in the AFC South, but also the Trevor Lawrence injury. And now the Bengals 6-6 on the season. They creep up, if you will, trying to stay alive at least in the postseason. Jake Browning, huge game. 32 of 37, 354 and a touchdown. No interceptions. He was fantastic. And then also NFL news, something I know that will probably be pushed aside a little bit today. Shaq Leonard signing that deal officially yesterday with the Philadelphia Eagles.
And again, he was in the house last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. But yeah, Shaq Leonard obviously reunited there with Nick Sirianni and company. It was a little jarring for Nick Sirianni to hear him describe the Shaq Leonard edition as he gives us depth at linebacker. He's right, I guess, but it's kind of crazy how that is where his career has gone, and that a signing of Shaq Leonard is for depth reasons. Again, Sirianni obviously speaks very highly of him, has seen him firsthand. You know, he brought up this great play Shaq made against the Buccaneers in 2019, a pick six of Jameis Winston. As much as I want to wrap my arms around the feel-good story,
we'll see if he plays.
2019 was a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
Two back
What was I doing in
surgeries
2019?
in between
Need to remember.
Yeah, certainly to say the least there. Yeah, I think I actually had hair and didn't have children at that point. All right, I do love my children.
Me too.
And I do love my hair. On the other side, back into what a great night it was inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Pacers are moving on to the semifinals of the in-season tournament. We'll talk about that next. at GetRealKeepItReal.com.
The Wake Up Call with KB and Andy.
7 a.m. and you're by my side. We made it right through the night. You take me by the hand and look me in the eye and tell me I can call you mine. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, we'll keep it going here on the Wake Up Call. Going to be a fun show today. Pacers winners last night off to Vegas from South Beach, home for a game and then Vegas. Quite the miles and quite the trips for the Pacers, but this is what you wanted to see, is them play well against a really good team, and you saw it last night. Reminder, Greg Doyle, Indy star, he'll join us at 8:30. Usually a lot of reaction when Doyle is on the show. Thad Matta coming your way at 9 o'clock. We'll give away 4 tickets to some Butler basketball upcoming games, and DeForest Buckner going to join us at 9:45. I want to play the sound here in just a second, but I think, one thing coming from last night was that, it's interesting how much, there's 2 things. Number one, Tyrese Haliburton, how exactly sick he was. You mentioned it being the flu game. There's no doubt he did not look himself in the first half. So we can dive into that. And then as well, I don't want to say I was hard on this guy yesterday, but, Buddy Hield, at least the last 3 games, has not been very good. And we talked with Carlisle about it yesterday. He said, hey, this is a guy that has a lot of confidence. You got to go out there and shoot the basketball. And last night he did that, 21 points. He just had to take that 3 at the end. You could almost see it in his eyes, KB, that he had to take that, but he was good. I thought even defensively he wasn't the liability at times that he is, and 4-6 from 3, and a couple of them were big shots down the stretch.
Well, and Andy, think about this. Buddy Hield's never played in a playoff game. He's been in the league for how long? Is he
12 years?
Is he the longest tenure Pacer?
Oh, he's got to be.
Longest tenure player in the NBA on the Pacers roster? Yeah, so, last night was new for him. Yeah, I thought Hield. I think there's so many guys. Obviously, Haliburton's performance. Again, that MVP chant was deserved. That was not just a home crowd being biased. That was so deserved for Haliburton. But I point to Bruce Brown and Miles Turner early. 2 guys that have been in the playoffs. Obviously, Bruce Brown, the championship experience dwarfs, Turner's playoff resume. But still, they helped you out early when that first quarter was a throwback in terms of a 24-22 first quarter. And then I thought another key sequence was the end of the third quarter. If you look at it, you're down 7 at halftime, and you come out and Haliburton does what Haliburton does. He was just outstanding in that third quarter. The only thing missing, probably showed you how sick he was. He wasn't skipping around like Arthur, but he was great in that third quarter. But then you get to the end of the third quarter, and Andy, it's starting to turn into this with the Pacers. How do you play when Haliburton's not on the floor? We see this so often. Boston, Tatum's not out there. They leave Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday out there.
Right.
So they can withstand, Tatum not being on the floor.
Derek White's a good player. They can use him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Pacers, Haliburton goes to the bench. McConnell, some big moments late third quarter. Matherin, some big moments late third quarter. Buddy stayed in with that group and really, I thought, helped you out. And all of a sudden, you've expanded the lead without Haliburton. And then the last item is when Boston punches you back. You had that 11-point lead. You lose it all. How many times do you see that in an NBA game or just an NBA game of the magnitude of last night? Championship contender, we think somewhat of a fringe 5-6 seed. Like, these two are matching up. When the championship contender punches back in the second half, oftentimes the fringe 5-6 seed, they just kind of slowly wilt, and then we sit here on a Monday and we're like, well, that was great experience, or we sit here on a Tuesday, that was great experience, blah, 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 blah. No, what did you do? You punched them back. Obviously, the Haliburton 4-point play speaks for itself, and then you went on the 9-0 run there late, and now you're moving on to the semifinals coming up on Thursday.
Here's Haliburton postgame on the MVP chance, and then if you're a Pacer fan, you love him repping the state of Indiana.
From the minute I've got here, there's been a lot of love from this organization and this fan base. It really means the world to me to have the opportunity to represent Indiana and represent this organization, this storied organization. So, I'm just going to keep coming out here and playing to my ability and helping lead. They put a lot of faith in me, obviously, the offseason with my contract and stuff like that, but my teammates do as well. So I got to step up to the moment, and I'm in an amazing part of my life right now. I'm 23 years old, and dressed in one of the best positions you could possibly be in life. So it's really exciting for me, but at the end of the day, I just want to win. And so whatever it takes to do that, I'm going to do.
I was listening to his stuff this morning. Every single one of his sound bites, KB, his voice changes like 9 times, and I can't do anything but hear his voice change. And I smiled because we've talked about this. The dude's 23. He's got the max deal. He's got his girl on the sideline, right? That's his girlfriend.
Sure.
He's sitting by the dad. His parents are there. And he's got a
Life
coach.
is good.
He's got a coach in an organization that are like, no, go be our star.
Yeah.
We want you. We want to ride with you the rest of the way.
You hear that clip, and what goes into my mind, Andy, is Wayne's World, we are not worthy. Like kind of bowing down here to Haliburton. And
does Kylan know what that is? Does she know Wayne's World?
Feel like the GIF, maybe?
Yeah, maybe a little Wayne's World.
Kylan,
it's an old reference now.
I know a little bit of Wayne's World, but I wouldn't be able to quote it right off.
It's an old reference.
You and I were in the same boat late in yesterday's show. We wanted to see the rich people put on Pacers gear in the first few rows. I thought it was a mixed bag.
Uh-oh.
I thought there was some, but still, I want to see. I'll give them benefit of the doubt. The in-season tournament, it's kind of, all right, one of these games. But come March and April, we've got to see that, right?
We got improvement, so I don't want to discredit that.
Baby
but
steps.
Right, you're still right there. And with such a big game like this that determines if you go to Vegas or not, come on, let's step it up.
I did like the rally towels. Those are great. You had a couple of beautiful shots of the crowd waving those. But to get back to the Haliburton clip, I mean, I'm at a loss for describing
You
it.
love him. You love him. You should love him.
And every time I think that he's reached a certain ceiling, he breaks through that. If you right now were writing down the best players in the NBA for the 2023-2024 NBA season, you cannot tell me you're getting very far on that list before you're putting Haliburton's name on it. I mean, last night, here's a guy, Andy, that has never experienced winning at a serious level since his, sophomore year of high school? I mean, Iowa State, they didn't win. No. Sacramento, they didn't win. Here in Indiana, they haven't won. And so all of a sudden, he gets this moment, and he's been so outspoken about wanting this moment, and he gets sick 2 nights before the game. And he has a first half where, it wasn't great. Obviously, he was under the weather, and Haler at halftime, he mentioned postgame that his trainer texted at halftime and was like, dude, you're playing terrible. And he said he kind of needed.
He wasn't very good, no. He really wasn't.
To hear that, in the third quarter, he does that. And in the fourth, where Boston's trying to wear him out like no other on defense. I mean, Joe Mazzulla, this is what teams are going to do.
They put Holiday all over him.
Haliburton, they're going to say, you're going to have to work your ass off on the other end of the floor. Obviously, we're going to put Holiday on you. We're going to, again, just try and get you to be tired, frankly. And he has that 4-point play and the stat line of the first career triple-double, the closing moments, the MVP chants, relishing in that, the national television. It's one thing to speak it. It's another thing to play like that in that arena, and he absolutely did it. Every time I think, oh, yeah, Haliburton's reached this level, Andy, boom. It goes another tick higher.
Yeah, he's come through. I think that's what it is. He has come through on him wanting to be the best and him wanting to lead the team and him wanting to get some wins and be relevant and have himself
wanting
and team.
Doing it are two different things.
And he's come through this season. He absolutely has. I mean, he hasn't had a week where damn, Haliburton hasn't been very good, or he had, all these turnovers that flat out lost the game. You've mentioned it a couple times. Here's Haliburton post game talking about the sickness and the inhaler.
First half, I was dead. But again, medical staff did a really good job. Got me an inhaler at halftime. And I was able to breathe in the second half. So that felt better. But they did a good job.
He was really sick. It wasn't the Miami flu. We were kind of winking at each other yesterday. Well, it still, I guess, could have been.
Hey, team playing tomorrow to Vegas, inhalers around. No one does Miami and Vegas in a week span.
Oh.
Is there anyone that's done that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's
any sane person that's tried to work, I should say,
like an IG model or something maybe has done it, but yeah.
I guess working can be described in different ways, but nonetheless, the Pacers are off to Vegas again. 5:00 coming up on Thursday. They'll take on the winner of Milwaukee and New York. That game will be tonight. The late one last night out west, it was the Pelicans over the Kings. So we know the Pacers and the Pelicans will be in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament. And again, Andy, I think that's what the NBA, that was their thought with this. I mean, let's say Milwaukee takes care of business tonight, and no matter who wins, Lakers or Suns, you're going to get mega star, up-and-coming team. Out west, you're going to get mega stars, probably plural, no matter if it's Lakers or Suns, against an up-and-coming team in the Pelicans.
It's a great
that's
point. Yeah,
exactly
it's a great point.
What the NBA wanted. And I've always been a fan of this in-season tournament. I know at times it might be a hair confusing. We had the genius from MIT on last week from the NBA, and I don't know, maybe he confused people even more on it. But, last night you had Matty Bowen on the edge of the couch. I mean, it's one of those things where you just build during a time of year where, all right, it's a Monday night game, and, what does this matter? It's the Magic in town, it's the Pistons in town, et cetera, et cetera. Kudos to the NBA for trying something new. And I think the Pacers have been a huch beneficiary of it.
You even mentioned it in an up-and-coming team, whatever it may be. The Pelicans, all these teams are about the same record, 11-8, 12-9, 12-10 as well. Zion's still playing for the Pelicans. He only had 10 points last night. But you mentioned whether it be the late game, but definitely we have seen the buy-in with the in-season tournament. Very vocal, Haliburton, Miles Turner, Rick Carlisle.
Watch both the benches last night. Both the benches. Boston
on the Neesmith dunk.
And Indiana.
Sure.
I mean, those benches are up early in the game. Porzingis, a dude who's not even playing.
It had
more than anybody else.
It had a collegiate feel.
Yeah,
the bench,
that's a great way to
the
describe
bench had an NCAA tournament or a Big Ten or an ACC tournament type feel. I guess for Thad Matta, a Big East tournament type feel. And if you're the NBA, you have to love these matchups because of what you mentioned. Established teams, right? Up-and-coming teams. You have a good mix. Superstars, emerging superstars, and a team like the Pacers, and even Boston, obviously, they embraced it. Boston went out and they said, we need to win by 23 points. We're going to foul. We're going to make sure we beat the Bulls.
Yeah.
Okay? It mattered to them. It mattered to them. It has mattered to this Pacer team. If they would have lost that game last night, that would have been a downer. They would have been down. And you could have tried to do the moral victory card. Well, we hung in there right to the end. This is a championship team in Boston, and Jason Tatum's great, and and Jaylen Brown and everything else. But they bought in. I mean, they have bought in. The fans have bought in, and everything else.
A season low 6 turnovers really stands out to me as well. And Andy, I'm curious. I don't know. Maybe it's overreacting to one game, but does being in that arena last night, excelling in the second half of that environment, what does that do as we fast forward to April, when you would think, hope, believe the Pacers will be in an actual playoff series? Does all of a sudden, does Rick Carlisle say in a timeout late in that first round series, guys, remember back in December when we made the plays late against Boston? It was tied with 90 seconds to go, and we went on the 9-0 run. Does that belief instill anything into them come April and potentially May? Because, I've talked about it all along. It's time for the winning to start with this franchise. You've done the bulk of the rebuild. It's not a finished product by any means. You still can tweak, but you've done the heavy lifting with this rebuild. Now you've got to experience the how to win in, pivotal moments, because this is a franchise that has been swept in its last 2 playoff series. They've lost 9 straight playoff games. They haven't won a a playoff game since late April 2018. I mean, Frank Reich was, 3 months on the job at that point. Joe Young and TJ Leaf were getting, back in minutes for the Pacers back in that
TJ
playoff.
Leaf. I got to look up TJ Leaf here. Hang on.
Where do you think he's playing?
Okay, so the third
Is
thing
it the
here.
Shanghai Sharks?
Okay, the third thing here says TJ Leaf China. So
I know Joe Young. He was like a China star at one point. Joe Young was wild.
The Beijing Ducks.
Is that serious?
Beijing Ducks.
That's for TJ Leaf?
That's the first thing. It's what Wikipedia tells me.
Bigger rivalry, Carolina Duke or Beijing Ducks and Shanghai Sharks?
Who am I to question Wikipedia, who keeps asking me for $2.75? And I feel like I need to give him $2.75. I've never done that.
I do feel that way.
I've never done it in my life, but I kind of feel like I should do it because, I do use their information, whether it be altered by some guy in his basement or not.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, in the season of giving, don't I deserve that too?
The season of giving.
Wikipedia deserve that?
Oh, man.
Again, I thought Aaron Neesmith, Andy, you want to talk about fourth quarter, a guy against his former team. You could tell that one meant a little bit more. I like how Neesmith's wired. I stereotyped him, to be honest with you, Andy. I thought, one of my good buddies went to Vanderbilt. I just think, they're pretty much a bunch of pretty boys. I'm like, okay, he went to Vandy. He's not. Yeah, is he really going to give it on both ends of the floor like that? He did. He plays hard. I mean, he's intense. He plays hard. He's not just some standstill shooter. I thought that was kind of the rep on him exiting Vandy. I could be totally off base on that, but that was my uneducated thoughts clearly on it. I thought Neesmith embraced playing his former team, and you need him because you need another wing defender. It can't just be Bruce Brown. Neesmith really, really good in that fourth quarter.
You do have to have the quote-unquote Bama Bangs if you live in Nashville or if you attend Vanderbilt. So you would have had to tell We Grow Hair Indy, hey, I'm going to be attending Vanderbilt. Right. I need these to look like bangs if you don't mind. Is that okay?
SEC frat boys, and this is the hair that I need.
Oh, I told you. I told you I was at the Kentucky Derby one year, and me and my buddy, of course, we were all liquored up and everything. And there was a mom with her daughter, and her daughter was just gorgeous beyond belief.
You did tell us.
And I told her, yeah, we go to Vanderbilt. She's like, oh yeah, so does my daughter. And I'm like, I could have picked any college to lie about. Why did I go to Vanderbilt in the one place she actually attends? I could have, which is also a beautiful campus. Did you make? I guess last word for me, and then Shaq, Leonard. We can dive into the Colts here in a second. Reminder: 8:30. Greg Doyle, Thad Matta, Butler basketball coach at 9. DeForest Buckner back end of the show around 9:45. McConnell, first guard of the bench. Was that surprising at all in the first half to you?
It was. I wanted to see a little Nembhard. I just think defensively, Nembhard screened that assignment. It's when you see Boston up close, Andy, you're just reminded about how many just 6'4", 6'6", 6'8" dudes they've got. And I was worried about McConnell. Now, to be fair, I thought McConnell played pretty darn well. And again, late third quarter, he was a part of that key stretch. But, when I look at a team like that, and I kind of said it to Rick Carlisle yesterday, isn't this a night for the wings? I mean, isn't this a night for the Nembhards, for the Neesmiths? Matherin's got to show up on that end of the floor. You can't just have, and I thought Matherin did provide a nice scoring punch. But clearly, Rick had some of that thought. I know he went to McConnell early, but did Isaiah Jackson even get much clock at all?
He did not play. No, he did not play.
So they went one center, right?
Yeah,
it was just Turner.
They went 9 deep, and Nembhard only played 5 minutes. McConnell 9. I barely even remember Nembhard playing. So they're almost like an 8-man team last night.
And Toppin got the early assignment of did he have Tatum and Bruce Brown had Jaylen Brown?
I believe so.
I think that
yes.
was the initial.
I believe that was initially in the first. Yes.
Yeah, that was the initial. So again, nothing for the Pacers till Thursday. It'll be a 5:00 semifinal game. Again, Milwaukee or New York. For those that missed it last night, Andy, your venom is high this morning towards the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, so people, if you don't know, and I know you don't care,
are you going to be selfish here?
No, I'm going to be selfish, but I'm also going to give people the background of everything. So at the beginning of the season, whether it be the Colts game, the Chiefs game for the Jags, and then the Texans, I didn't like the way the Texans were playing, and then I was wrong, and they went and they won. What was it? 5 straight. They won I think they won 7 of 8 before last night, and they've been one of the better teams. And I had to bend the knee. I had to bend the damn knee to Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars and call them a good team and say, well, they'll beat the Bengals, and you want them to beat the Bengals, so you can just give the AFC South to them and everything else. And so this weekend, there are 4 guys left in an eliminator, and people know my pain. And there's probably a couple grand up, there's probably about $1,500, $1,600 in the pot, and there's 4 guys left. And 2 of the guys took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I thought of taking the Buccaneers. I also thought of taking the Chargers, and the Chargers won 6-0, and the Bucks did struggle for about 3.5 quarters. They did struggle, but it is survive and advance. And the spread last night, I took Jacksonville just because I thought there's no way they're going to lose. It could be close. They're not going to lose to Jake Browning. They're not going to allow a 72-yard touchdown. Just guard Jamar Chase. Don't leave Jamar Chase one-on-one with your second corner. And Jacksonville got beat, and I'm out, and I'm sour because I've had this relationship with them where I want to hate them, especially for the Colt fan here in the area. I don't want to like Jacksonville, and then everyone was in my mentions when they won 7 of 8. Oh, Sweeney, what do you know about Jacksonville? And you know what I know about? What you saw last night. Pretender. How about that? You
No,
want pretender. They're a fraud.
Made
Kai, they're a
Brandon
fraud.
McManus field goal away from being the 1 seed in the AFC
They're
right
a damn fraud.
For those that missed it, Trevor Lawrence
Killed me,
suffering
man.
what looked like an ugly, ugly ankle injury late in that one.
He's got to miss time, doesn't he?
And the
He's got
schedule
to.
the rest of the way. Again, Jacksonville sits at 8-4. The Colts and Tennessee both sit at 7-5. Now, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but I guess it's worth mentioning. Obviously, we know the Colts don't have the head-to-head tiebreaker with Jacksonville. Jacksonville swept Indy. If these teams finish all tied together, Jacksonville also has that tiebreaker.
Sure.
Because they've won 3 of 4. The Colts and Texans cannot get to that record. This is Jacksonville's schedule the rest of the year. And again, ankle sprain, it looks severe. We'll see how much time Trevor Lawrence will miss. The rest of the year for Jacksonville. At Cleveland, Baltimore, at Tampa, Carolina, at Tennessee. The quarterbacks potentially, Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, Will Levis. Let's say Trevor Lawrence is out those first 3 games. Browns, Ravens, Bucks. What do you think?
I think if he misses those 3 games, I think they're. I
Chalk
think
all 3 of them up as losses?
Boy, I tell you, I think the best they can do is 1 and 2. Don't you feel that way?
How many do they need to win the division?
They had Kirk go out too last night.
Yeah, Christian Kirk went out with a groin injury early. That did not look great.
No, I mean, again, we had Will Carroll on who has talked about this tape that they have used, whether it be Bowers or Aaron Rodgers or even some of the Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson stuff. What the tape? I forget the wording he has used. And, still, though, high ankle sprains are about 3 weeks. Don't you feel comfortable saying that? At least 2, if not 3. And so C.J. Beathard versus the Browns defense and then the Baltimore Ravens, I would have them losing both of those games. And then we would have to see where Tampa Bay is. Are they still in the NFC South
I would
fight?
assume they will be,
I would
yeah.
assume they would be too. They would have to be licking their chops. I know Beathard was 9 of 10 when he came in for relief last night, but I mean, to me, it's a downgrade. But also, Lawrence is such a mobile player too. I mean, that's what you have to think of
Kirk
as well.
Injury kind of adds.
Yeah, and then
to
Kirk's, come on, he's their number 1
they've got
wide
some
receiver.
skilled talent, but again, losing Kirk would obviously hurt C.J. Beathard here for the next couple of weeks. So it was an interesting reaction to last night's game. I think a lot of Colts fans look at it and say, wait a minute, AFC South door's cracked. And then others would say, wait a minute, all of a sudden Cincinnati, that game means a ton coming up on Sunday because the wild card picture now has 4 teams at 7-5 and 3 at 6-6. And if you look at the standings, the Colts are going to play several games down the stretch against teams right around them in this wild card picture. So much more to get to in the 8 o'clock hour. Again, Greg Doyle, 8:30, Thad Matta, and some Butler tickets to give away at 9, DeForest Buckner at 9:45. It's the wake-up call with KB and Andy on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Bounce comes in near sideline. Bruce Brown has it. He'll lob it back up top. Haliburton working off a Turner screen. Horford switches out. Haliburton bouncing and looking and launching and scoring! 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 And a foul! A 3-ball and a foul!
Yeah, that's how it sounded right here on the Fan last night. Pacers Radio Network, the big three,
that call from Mark Boyle.
the big and one. We need to. I gotta see if I scoring. I need to see if I actually cut it or not. Kai, I'll look here because the end of Did you hear the final call when the game was over? It's like I can see the blackjack table. I can see
Boyle said that.
I can see the poker room. Obviously, Pacers winners last
Buddy
night.
Hield with JJ. Did you catch that? Buddy Hield with Jeremiah Johnson.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I got 100 on black.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I think for a second there, JJ wasn't totally following it, and he's like, the roulette table.
The roulette table, man.
Off to Vegas for the Pacers coming up on Thursday. Love that call from Mark Boyle.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
The Wayne's World.
Yes, the Wayne's World. Good job.
Kylan pulling up that clip again. When you hear Tyrese Haliburton talk about how much this city has meant and how much he wants to deliver for this city and state, that thought certainly crossed my mind. Special night inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and we haven't said that about that building with the Pacers in quite some time.
No, we haven't. We talked about this in hour number one, KB. It looked like, that first half, it wasn't going their way. Haliburton wasn't playing well.
Well, the end of the first half was such that sequence, you're like, oh,
yeah,
boy.
they were having to play late into the shot clock. Greg Anthony on the call talked a lot about that, and you're sitting here saying, okay, they have been so damn vocal about playing on these nationally televised games and everything else, and then they come out and, it could have went from a 7-point game to a 17-point game with Boston. You're sitting there saying, wait a minute, this is not how kind of the fairy tale was supposed to go. And look what happened. It didn't go that way. What a great second half from Haliburton. 11-8 on the season. And now a chance to go play Milwaukee or the Knicks. You have a preference there? Haven't played the Knicks this season? I mean, that would be the only thing.
It was funny. I did think about that driving in. Part of me is like, I would kind of like a little bit of Pacers Knicks in the playoffs. I mean, I know it's been quite some time, but that would kind of be cool and maybe drum up.
That's a throwback, baby.
A little bit more of it. Obviously, you see Milwaukee a whole lot. And, that would be, 5 games against them this season. Certainly Giannis, and that challenge speaks for itself. But
yeah, give me the Knicks then. Is that how you're feeling?
I think that'd be kind of a fun twist to it. And again, 5 o'clock Thursday for that semifinal game. If that counts towards your standings for the overall season, as did last night. If you make the title game on Saturday night in Vegas, that will not count. That is the only extra game in this in-season tournament. There is no third place game. So no matter if you lose Thursday, Andy, what is it? Is it Detroit on Monday? I believe that's your next game after that, and now you get back into normal.
It's a good padding game.
Regular season. Well, you would hope.
It? Well, I mean you would hope so.
Haven't taken advantage of the padding game.
I know, but Detroit hasn't won a game since the French and Indian War. When's the last time they won a game? Like, honestly, hang on, let me go look. They last won a game Saturday, October 28th. We were on Saturday, October 28th. We were moaning and groaning how bad the weather was going to be on Monday for Halloween or Tuesday or whatever it was, weren't we? That's what we were doing the weekend before Halloween.
And I brought this up a couple times earlier in the show, Andy. Like, remember the Detroit game a few weeks back? It was a really close game for the first 45 minutes, and then you go on the flurry to end the game. I think it was a 19-1 run, if I'm not mistaken, to end it. Last night, it's one thing to go on a run to take care of Detroit at home on a Friday night. It's another thing to do it to Boston. And when they've got so many closers and so many interchangeable defenders, and clearly both of these teams have this game circled very understandably. Hell, last night was a $50,000 win for the Pacers players. By making the semis, they're guaranteed an extra $50,000 in this in-season tournament. And for you to deliver late, I just think that's one of the biggest things that you've got to take away from it. Haliburton doing him on that stage, backing up his words, all of that. Yes, the MVP chance more than deserved. But this was not a big run against a bottom feeder. This was a big run against, in my opinion, the best team in the NBA. That has to mean something moving forward.
Yeah, and it was nice that Porzingis was out. You could tell they missed Porzingis not being there. I had forgotten completely that Sam Hauser was there.
They had some
the old
random dudes.
Yeah, they do have a couple random guys on the team. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot Sam Hauser, who was a fine player at Michigan State and then Virginia, obviously. I forgot about that. And then you mentioned the $50,000. This is where my sick and twisted mind goes here on this Tuesday morning on The Fan. If you're Tyrese Haliburton, you're making how much money a year, between your endorsements and what you're getting from the Pacers and just everything, you're making a lot of money. I mean, that $50K, that's what's going to the blackjack table, is it not? I mean, that's
I'm
how
looking more at Oscar Shibwe when I'm saying the extra $50,000. Shibwe is hugging
Ben Shepherd, yeah.
Shibwe's hugging Miles Turner a little bit more in the post-game locker room after that one. Again, for those unfamiliar with the payouts, if you lose in the quarterfinals, it's $50,000. If you get to the semis and lose, it's $100,000. If you get to the championship and lose, it's $200,000. And if you win it all, $500,000.
That's pretty good. Now, I don't know this. I'm not expecting you to know this, and we'll get to Colts here in a second. I want to play a Shane Steichen clip on Grover Stewart from the Colts Roundtable yesterday. So Shibwe, he was with the Mad Ants. He hasn't always been dressed on the bench. So him being dressed on the bench now, he gets the money? Does that make sense? Because he hasn't been dressed for the other games, but he has been for this one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Does he get a piece of the pie?
Yeah, I don't know how that. Yeah, that's a great point.
Does he get 10, 15K?
Yeah, because he'd be buying Doba or Chick-fil-A for all of his Mad Ants teammates when he goes back.
Exactly,
there.
like Jordan Ward, he hasn't played, but he's been on the bench, and obviously he's been solid with the team, not with the Mad Ants. Jarris Walker, I guess, would fit into the same mold maybe as Oscar, but Jarris has been up with the big squad much more than Oscar Shibwe has. I don't know. You brought it up. I don't know. It made me think.
We did have some Colts contingent last night inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse. A former Colt, Shaquille Leonard, right there next to the Boston basket there. As he now is off to Philly. I believe that's a 1-year league minimum, by the way, on that deal to Philadelphia for Shaq Leonard. Kenny Moore, always a big Pacers fan. Last week he was actually taking pictures at the game as a credentialed member of the media. The return of Grover Stewart, Andy, like I don't think you can really state it in a light manner of what he means now to you moving forward. You've just given up 125 rushing yards at least in 6 straight games. Obviously, 6-game suspension for Grover. Each of those games, again, at least 125. It's the longest stretch in 17 years. And I watched Joe Mixon run last night, and I think, damn, I mean, since he's got some dudes, since he's got some skilled dudes, you need Big Grove controlling things in the middle. You would think he's fresh. And Shane Steichen made it pretty clear yesterday. There will not be any easing in the lineup of Grover Stewart. Big Grove is back.
Chase Brown wasn't bad for them.
He was.
He was actually
pretty good.
He was actually pretty good.
And he was good at Illinois, to be fair.
Here's Steichen. This is a 3-second clip. You ready for this on Grover Stewart? Is he ready to go, or are you going to have to ease Big Grover back into the game?
He'll be ready to go. He'll be ready to roll.
There you go, with a little Matt Taylor at the end. By the way, speaking of Matt Taylor, I have not seen this every game. They had a camera set up to be on Matt Taylor.
In the radio booth, right?
Yeah. Now,
that was awesome.
I want to ask him that on Friday because I like that stuff. I would imagine I imagine he does too. I love that stuff. It was, and I'm blanking. Kevin Harlan says he didn't like it. He's like, really? Do you remember that? Kevin Harlan's like, because he goes nuts during these games.
Yeah, but I want to see the nuts. Well,
save that, save that. That might be something we can splice up in some sort of promo material at 8:10. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what? I love it. So I would imagine Taylor loves it. Who when Pierce had the catch in overtime that was dropped in over him, Taylor did
mimics
that.
it.
Taylor mimicked Pierce
Rick
going up and making the catch.
Crazy in the background. It was an awesome shot. Matt Taylor tweeted that out. That clip if you want to see it.
But Harlan said, if you remember, I don't want to be part of the story. I want to move the game. I'm like, Kevin Harlan, you yell and scream, buddy. You are part of the story, whether you like it or not.
If you had to boil last night down to good or bad for the Colts, where do you ultimately go? If I only gave you 2 answers, I think there's a ton of gray area in the answer, so I apologize for asking it.
That's okay.
I'm asking you, and you're not asking me. Was that good or bad?
Good. It was good because I'm still not sold.
And for those that didn't stay up, please explain why you say that.
Because I'm still not sold that the Bengals are a playoff team, even though they move up to 6-6, and they have to wake up today feeling, okay, we have the Colts, one of the teams that we are battling for the playoffs. So if you're a Cincinnati fan, you wake up with that, and you wake up with, hey, our running game looked good last night, and you wake up with Jake Browning just had a passer rating of 115. Like, you wake up thinking, okay, the season's not over. But for me, I am still believing maybe last night's a little bit more Jacksonville. Jacksonville stinks at home. Okay, they're not good in Jacksonville. They're better in Germany or London or wherever else they may go. So I'm still not a believer, although the game on Sunday worries me now against Cincinnati a little bit more. And I hate sounding like this, but it's not simply a loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lose Christian Curt. They lose their number 1 or 1B wide receiver. And Trevor Lawrence, I mean, heavy limp leaving that field. You got to think, KB, he's going to miss something. And then we've already talked about in hour number 1, their schedule. Browns upcoming, Ravens at Tampa Bay. Those are all, especially at Cleveland and home to Baltimore. They don't win at home anyway. Baltimore, I know it's Joe Flacco, but we have seen them win in the margins and with that defense and running game before. So I would go a positive. I looked it up this morning. ESPN's Power Index has the Colts at 56.5% chance of making the postseason.
Yeah, I want to nerd out over some playoff numbers here coming up in the next couple of days. But these next 2 games, I mean, it goes without saying. I remember a few weeks back kind of circling Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, Andy, and thought, look at the wild card picture. And this is when Cincinnati was getting hot with Burrow. And they obviously have that injury a couple weeks ago. But, man, Jake Browning looked very, very capable last night. Now, they dink and dunk the hell out of it early on. I think at one point Jamar Chase had 5 catches for like 7 yards. And then once they felt like they could take the handcuffs off of Jake Browning, he made some big-time throws. They win in overtime. Now, the good news, I guess, if you're a Colts fan, it was a 68-minute game, and now it's a short week for Cincinnati. They had to travel home, of course, last night. I don't know if they suffered a ton of, like, major injury. I didn't see maybe a lot of major injuries for them last night, but nonetheless, you know, a fresh Grover Stewart. You know, how can the Colts capitalize on that? Can the Colts get into a game where all of a sudden, fourth quarter, it's hands on hips for Cincinnati coming up Sunday afternoon? But you can look at last night one of 2 ways. If you are the greedy Colts fan, you love the result. As sick as that sounds, the Trevor Lawrence injury is huge. And then, of course, you obviously have Jacksonville losing. They're now only a game up. Granted, they do have the tiebreaker. And if you are not the greedy Colts fan, and you still weren't even viewing the division as a realistic possibility, you didn't like last night's result. Because now if Cincinnati beats you Sunday, they're above you.
Well, that's how I felt.
Standings.
That's how I felt. Going into last night, I was like, Jacksonville, go ahead and win, not only because I had thousands of dollars in an eliminator pool, but I was like, you know, you're going to win the AFC South. You've really controlled, ever since week 1 and beating the Colts here in Lucas Oil, you've controlled the AFC South for the most part all season. Just go ahead and win that and get Cincinnati down to 5-7. I didn't think Jake Browning was going to do that. By the way, JMV chimes in on Twitter.
I'm going to regret the nuts
What kind
comment.
of nuts do you want to see?
I'm going to regret it. Kylan, please just scrub that. Scrub that from the archives. Mark Dykton would be all over it.
No offense, he would have had it cut up probably already.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Is he in Disney? It was today, right? I think he got there either last night or this morning.
I swear he lives there.
Boy, he's been there twice in the last couple months. Yeah. $19 pizzas. My man's in line, right? He's already in line right now, actually.
Unbelievable.
To get to Space Mountain.
And again, the Pacers might join him if they win this in-season tournament coming up Thursday and Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to say he might take some even more time to go visit them in Vegas.
Sure, well, with the way Mark is traveling right now, using that PTO to end the year, that is quite the...
hey, use it or lose it.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that.
Use it or lose it.
Percentage of our audience that has a subscription to Peacock?
40%.
Ooh, that high?
You think so? I don't know. Okay, so Peacock has had English Premier League soccer and Notre Dame.
Well, locally, I would go IndyCar.
Okay, yeah, IndyCar.
There was a race exclusively on Peacock this year. All their practices and qualifying.
And if you're a Big
Peacock
Ten fan,
well.
you know you're going to have to suffer through a couple games.
You've had the solo Notre Dame game.
Yeah, so you've had 4 entities that if you had interest in those things, you would have just... again, and now if you're an adult, unlike me, you know that, hey, I can pay the $4
Wait, are you not? an adult?
Well, here's the thing. Adults, they'll
have a child now.
They'll put it on their calendar, okay, and they'll say, cancel Peacock after like 3 months, okay, when you don't need it, or when Indiana or Purdue or whatever is done, and then they won't pay for it anymore. For me, I'll just roll it over every single month, and I'll just end up paying for all 12 months. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. Although I do have a reminder set for Bally's. Sorry to the Bally's people. So when the Pacers are done, I do stop the subscription to Bally's.
And look, Purdue fans are going to be the same boat here. Purdue has several meaningful games on Peacock. Again, tonight, 9 o'clock, Indiana at Michigan. That is Peacock. The other Peacock games this season at Rutgers. Frankly, Indiana fans probably don't want to watch that one. And again, the first Purdue game.
I know.
Is Peacock.
No, you're going to have to, listen, you're going to have to do it.
Tuesday, January 16th, 7 o'clock.
Bars, restaurants,
from
same
Bloomington.
thing.
And then at Ohio State, coming up in early February, is also a Peacock game. And then finally, Wisconsin in Bloomington. So,
I mean, do you see tonight?
You're gonna have to bend the knee to use a Andy Sweeney.
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to bend the knee. Listen, I mean, whether it be the SEC network. I mean, didn't we do this with ESPN2, ESPNU? Remember ESPNU was like the college station, so they put games on there. I remember Kentucky fans whining and crying about the SEC Network Plus. Remember, you know that the last couple years, just the streaming service. So when they face, Morehead State, that game's not on a TV. Now the bars and restaurants are going to have to do the same too. I don't know how that works for them, but
that is a good point. Yeah,
I mean, they had to do the same with YouTube TV, right? For decades, it was Direct TV. You knew how you were getting the NFL Sunday ticket, and they've had to figure things out. By the way, tonight the first game on Peacock, Wisconsin's number 23. I had totally missed. Just the last, I knew they lost to Arizona.
They beat Marquette, right?
No, but Michigan State's 4-3 on the season. They're 4-3 on the season.
Who was that third loss to?
Arizona. Just lost to Arizona. So they've lost to James Madison, Duke by 9, and Arizona by 6.
They schedule the hell out of themselves in the non-conference.
Now, did you care at all about the net rankings coming out yesterday?
No,
not at all.
No, I can't net it up. I guess I nutted up on December.
Boy, save
5th.
that as well. The only thing I was going to say, and this was pandering to the Purdue fan, was before last night, Creighton was ahead of Purdue. And, Purdue does have 3 wins over top 10 teams.
Oh, yeah.
I know they just lost to Northwestern
and
in an overtime.
Home.
Yeah, in an overtime game. But, I do hate counting up the quad 1 wins, and we're 2 weeks away, I feel like, from having to do that.
There's zero debate. Haliburton was obviously the Pacers' best player last night. Andy, if you had to go to the second best Pacers player, where would you go?
Would you go Nesmith? Is that where you would go?
That was a thought, but then I'm thinking to myself, am I paying too much attention just to the fourth quarter?
Right.
I mean, Nesmith was great in the fourth, but I'm like, man, didn't you need Turner kind of early in that one?
Yeah, Turner hit the 3 early, and then he missed a bunch, and I was scared that him hitting that first 3 was going to mean that he was going to take a bunch.
I thought Turner and Bruce Brown were really important early. Part of me wants to be biased and say Matherin, but I don't know if I can go there. It's probably Nesmith. Is it Buddy Hield? Do you pay attention to plus minus? Buddy Hield was plus 29.
You know what? I should say it's Buddy simply because of this. I've been hard on Buddy Hield the last 3-4 games. He hasn't been very good, to the point of, you could go back in the starting lineup and put Matherin back in the starting lineup, or at least try that if you wanted. But Buddy Hield was good last night. Yeah, I'll settle on Buddy Hield. By the way, Mark Dykton is not listening, but he is tweeting. Our buddy Aaron tweeted at him. The WWE is on Peacock. I forgot about that. I don't watch wrestling. I'm nearly 40. Sorry.
Mark should be in line right now to get Minnie Mouse's autograph.
Make sure you got your phones charged, kids.
Greg Doyle coming up in 10 minutes. Wonder how the YouTube chat will react to that one. It's our monthly dose of Greg. I saw he fired off some tweet a few minutes ago.
Oh, boy.
He was in the building last night
I'm sure he was.
Fieldhouse, so we'll certainly get his thoughts on that. Thad Matta at 9. Butler ticket giveaway as well. DeForest Buckner to round things out today at 9:45. Greg Doyle earlier. My spot is 8:30 a.m. Got to sleep last night after the Pacers game at 2. I was amped after that exciting game. Plus, I wanted to hang out with my Cap. I believe that is his canine. Here I come on radio. Sleep deprived, but fired up. Could be tragic.
Who's the first person he calls an idiot?
Well, I think he apologized to me for last appearance. He said he talked too much and he talked too loudly and he bragged too much. That was his apology to me from this last appearance.
Well, isn't that why we have him on?
So we'll see how Greg is here. Coming up in less than 10 minutes. Morning check down time.
The Morning Checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, Pacers winners last night. It's been conversation topic number one, 122-112. They moved 11-8 on the season, off to Vegas semifinals of the in-season tournament. Let's get you some of this other sound. Rick Carlisle, head coach there with the Pacers, on his superstar, Tyrese Haliburton.
He's really a one-of-a-kind player, that I've coached. His skill level, his connectiveness to his teammates, his leadership, his ability to both give teammates confidence and deliver the ball on time, on target, as well as, score in the 30s or 40s if needed to win a game. So exceedingly special player, and, he's learning more and more about, the rigors of winning at the highest level.
So well said there by Rick Carlisle. New experience last night for Tyrese Haliburton. And under the weather, Tyrese Haliburton needed an inhaler at halftime. 26 points, 13 assists, 10 rebounds. Saw a stat. He's the first Pacer in the history of the franchise to score at least 25, have 10 and 10, hit 5 threes, and he committed 0 turnovers in that game. 4-point play with 1:05 to go. Gave the Pacers the lead for good, and they closed in just tremendous fashion against one of the best teams in the NBA. Off to the semifinals. Vegas coming up 5 o'clock on Thursday. They'll get the winner of tonight's quarterfinal game, Milwaukee and New York.
Boy, I kind of think his turnover stat's his most startling stat.
I think I would
when
agree,
he plays that well.
Because, again, Andy, he's not dinking and dunking it. He handles the ball more than anybody on the floor. He throws no look. Pass. I mean, he does everything. He throws high-risk, high-reward passes.
Was it Turner who had the no-look? Turner's run the floor down the middle. He had the no-look. At third quarter, I think that's what it was. Monday Night Football last night, we talked a lot about that as well. 34-31, Bengals over the Jags. That baby went to overtime. The Jags now 8-4. The Bengals move up to 6-6. That would be a big one to watch. Jake Browning was pretty good. 32 of 37, 354. The Golics, right? The Golics. They do a podcast together, Gojo and Golic, father and son. They had this stat last night. Jake Browning had more of his intended passes dropped than he had actual incompletions last night. That's how good Jake Browning was.
How about Tyler Boyd throwing that interception? That was a wild one last night.
That's when I thought I was going to win my money, but alas,
and we'll see how much time
happen.
Trevor Lawrence misses, because that did not look good with that ankle injury late in that one. All right, in West Lafayette last night, the Boilers bounced back. They take care of business against Fran McCaffrey. I missed the Fran Tech by 1 minute. I think yesterday I said it would happen at the 12:30 mark of the first half. It happened at the 11:30 mark of the first half. 87-69. Frankly, it wasn't even that close. Zach Edey, 25-12. He missed one shot from the field. Purdue expanded that lead in the first half without Edey, so I think that's a good sign for the Boilers. They did drop to 4th in the rankings after their loss to Northwestern. And as we've mentioned throughout the show, tonight, college basketball lies in the state. It is Buffalo traveling to Hinkle Fieldhouse. Butler favored by 22.5 in that one. Thad Matta joins us at 9 o'clock to talk more about that one. Again, Butler ticket giveaway here coming up at the end of that interview. And IU in Michigan, 9 o'clock from Ann Arbor. If you want to add insult to injury, you've got Jack Collinsworth and Stephen Bardo on the call tonight. Just gouge your ears out now. IU is a 6-point underdog. We'll see if Xavier Johnson returns to the floor. Michigan's a really new-look team, Andy. They're 4-4 on the year. Been very up and down.
Yeah, and the wild thing with Michigan is Juwan Howard, I think, is set to be back on the bench, but as an assistant coach, and Phil Martelli is going to still be the head coach.
Now, there's a Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stallions joke in there somewhere.
I mean, there has to be. Remember, the heart issue with the heart attack with Juwan Howard. He's working himself back slowly, which is great. I'm interested in how that will look if that is the case tonight. If he's sitting, 3 three chairs down, or if he's right next to Phil Martelli, who is going to officially be the head coach tonight there in Michigan.
The Shaq Leonard with the Eagles. That is a 1-year deal, a vet minimum on that. How about the Eagles? They're in prime time each of the next 3 weeks. Cowboys.
That's a big one.
If you look at the NFC right now, Philly's at 9-2. Andy, there's 4 teams right behind them.
Listen,
one game behind them.
I think the Cowboys get them on Sunday. Cowboys
have won 14 in a row at home. We'll see if they can continue that. All right, on the other side, the one and only Greg Doyle. He joins us next.
This sports. GreatIndy.com.
It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I will say the biggest difference with Kylan being in is the music. Usually it would be Seether would be coming from the ones and twos with Mark Dykton.
I do like the change of pace. Kylan, great work. Great work.
Tyrese was feeling hot last night.
He was.
It would be Seether though. I'm not joking. It probably would be Seether. It's the Wake Up Call with KB and Andy, having a lot of fun today. Greg Doyle from the Star going to join us here in just a second. Thad Matta will join us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. hour, we'll have 4 tickets to give away to an upcoming game. Butler basketball in action tonight. DeForest Buckner will join us at 9:45. Excited to talk to him as the Colts 7-5 on the season. All right, let's go on out to the Payless Liquors Hotline. Greg Doyle joins us here on the program. A late night last night and an early morning. Greg, good morning. We appreciate you joining us. How are you today?
I'm good, but I would have appreciated my own walk-up music, which would have been either the Last Mohicans theme song, which look that up, that's powerful, anything by Barry Manilow,
okay.
Or I'm really getting into Leonard Cohen, who wrote the song Hallelujah. Leonard Cohen is the best writer of our generation. Of course, he died a few years ago, but I'd be a fanboy if he was alive. I'd be following him places.
Do you have Spotify? Did you put out your Spotify end-of-the-year breakdown like everybody seemingly has done on Twitter and Facebook and everything else?
I'm not so old school that I have 8 tracks, but I'm old school enough that I actually buy my songs 99 cents at a time or $1.29 at a time. I'm still doing that. So I've got about 350 songs on my phone, and that's what I do now. I do have a dog. I'm sitting right next to him, Cap, my greyhound. It's possible you've heard of him. I try not to share him too much, but then I can't help it. So anyway, if you can believe this, I subscribe to Pandora finally, just for Cap, so that when I'm gone during the day, I put on like happy songs for Cap or yacht rock radio for Cap. Or right now we've got Christmas songs.
Oh, that's
for Cap.
nice.
How do you know what Cap
got
likes?
Christmas songs.
How do you know
I'm sorry, what?
How do you know what type of music Cap likes, Greg?
Because he tells me. Because I know him. Cap and I, we're actually the same. You know, Cap and I, we are twin brothers from another mother or something like that. Does that make me a son of a... Never mind. It doesn't matter what it makes. Cap and I are... Cap completes me. I'm his mini-me.
I love that. Happy Tuesday morning to Greg Doyle. Happy Tuesday morning to Cap, maybe more importantly. And Greg, thanks for spending it with us. As Andy said, you were in the building last night. Thoughts on the environment, thoughts on this in-season experience, and how much the Pacers have clearly embraced it.
Yeah, that was something else, and you hope that we see it some more, because that was a reminder of what happens in that building when everybody shows up. And granted, the players have to cooperate. You know, everybody can't show up when half the team is hurt, and you know, and back in the Oladipo era when nobody was healthy. But man, when the place is rocking, and with Haliburton here, they play with such joy. You know, I've always liked. Well, once Paul George got traded, I've always liked the Pacers players. Until Victor Oladipo changed, but I've always liked most of the Pacers players most of the time. But this team is unbearably lovable, and so that you get the joy they play with. And Haliburton is just next level. And last night I'm watching ESPN this morning, and Tim Bontemps from ESPN was there last night. He's talking on TV this morning about how this was the Pacers coming out party, and Haliburton announced himself as a superstar, and that's what I was thinking last night, and that's kind of what I wrote too. But you don't know what anybody else is thinking. Certainly, you don't know what someone from the outside like that thinks. But the impression I get is that folks are kind of maybe today, for the first time all year, in mass, nationally aware of what we have here.
Greg Doyle with us. Greg, what does it mean, looking at your story, but also that's a storyline obviously we have talked about in the first half. It didn't look so great, and then the second half, the Pacers came on, and Haliburton was fantastic. What does it mean for the city? What does it mean for the Pacers to have a true superstar, a guy that is looked at as one of the best players in the NBA? Because they have that with this kid, no doubt.
No doubt. And the city, ever since I've been here, I felt this way. It was obvious from the moment I got here that this city is, we care about our pro sports. I mean, us, the fans and all that. We care about them. It's almost collegiate. It's this city's not like other pro towns. This is a college pro town. So we don't just like winners. We like to know the people who are winning. I mean, really know them. And the Pacers have it. Haliburton's got it. The fans are behind him. And afterwards, Rick Carlisle, the coach, was so cool about this. He said, this is a big moment for the city. And he said, the Colts are on a winning streak, and we're coming. We've got Haliburton. And he said, you don't even realize how many people behind the scenes here at Gamebridge are getting this court together, getting this whole building together. How many people it takes to get a moment like this happening, and then to capitalize on it with the world watching. he was just really happy for the entire city because some cities, I mean, New York City is going to be New York City. LA is going to be LA. Miami's going to be Miami. Chicago will be Chicago. They're going to be who they're going to be, and they're going to be fine no matter what. But we're going to be who we're going to be, but we need the Pacers or ideally Colts to be really good. It just takes us to a different level. And I'm talking about internally. It takes us to a different level. I don't mean like what do people think about us. I don't care about that. I mean just what's the mood, the attitude in the city. People wonder why does the city spend so much money on a stadium or an arena or this or that. Well, when things are going right, and I don't mean just last night made $300 million worth it, but over the course of a season, a year, a decade, when things are going right, it uplifts the entire city and really the state.
Yeah, I think that's really, really well said. Greg Doyle is with us here for the Indianapolis Star. Him and Cap on this Tuesday morning, joining us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Greg, it was Friday. It was 2:30. Curt Cignetti took the mic in Bloomington. Well, I guess he took the mic several times on that Friday. And you said something to the effect of, I've never seen an introductory press conference like that. What did you see, or probably more importantly, what did you hear from the WWE promoter, Curt Cignetti?
Right. I mean, you know, everybody comes in confident, and they talked about it's going to be, my way or my this, my that, and we're going to put a new stamp on whatever. Because almost by definition, if you're coming in somewhere, unless you're either following the footsteps of somebody who's great who left, and that's kind of a dud of a press conference because everybody's sad that you lost your coach to some other school, or you're coming in because your coach got fired because your program's falling apart. Either way, it's kind of hard to be taken seriously. I took him very seriously. He believes and there's a part of him that you can tell he loves him, some Curt Cignetti, but he's earned that right. You know, he's all he knows as a coach. All he knows is excellence, and over time that just kind of starts to come out of you, and everybody around you picks up on it, and sometimes it just kind of feeds itself. He was so quietly cocky. I mean, I don't know how to say it. I've been to a bunch of these, and I mean this. I've never seen something quite like. Put it this way. I was not writing that day. I forget Purdue was playing that night. Maybe I had a game that night. I was not writing that day. I'd written about Curt the day before he got hired, so I wasn't going to write. Oh, IU was playing that night basketball. I wasn't going to write about it. But I'm watching the press conference, and after about 5 minutes of him talking, I'm texting my bosses saying, "I hope we have room because this moment can't happen." Not because the city needs to see what I say. No, I don't care about that. I need to see what I'm going to say because I'm fired up. I got to write about this guy and this moment because he was so cocky, but cocky. I've seen cocky I don't like. This is cocky I like.
Greg, we had him on, and I asked him something to the effect of, what is the pitch to, the players who are in the portal, who are not on your team, and the guys that are looking to leave Bloomington, and he goes, I'm a winner. That's what I'm going to tell him. I'm a winner. He said that JMU would have built him a statue had he stayed there to the end of his career. So there is a chip on the shoulder, no doubt, with Curt Cignetti. What does he need to do to be successful there, do you think? What kind of things does he need to do early on here?
Did he say, if I stayed at JMU, they'd have built a statue?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Oh,
yeah.
My word. And the thing about it is that I don't know that he has talking points that he plans to say. I don't know that I think he's maybe like me, is that he just blurts stuff out and you just don't know what's coming. And I don't think he knows what's coming. And I would
agree with that.
You would?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty organic. I hope it's pretty organic. I think it is too.
And maybe that's why I liked him so much, not because he reminds me of me, because I'm not that good on the mic, but I like him because it was organic. He feels real. He doesn't feel like, for example, that Big Ten Network interview he did, where at the very end he'd been on there for 5 or 10 minutes, however long he'd been on there, and he hadn't said what he was about to say. And at the very, very end, they're thanking him for coming on, and we know it's a busy day. We know you're going back to Bloomington and get a GA who can drive you there in 35 minutes, all that stuff. And at the very, very end, he kind of uncorks, like as he's walking away. Well, I thought I should make the drive because we'll be playing in this game next year. I mean, you could tell that just occurred to him right then, and then he said it. So. That was amazing. But what he needs to do 2 things. And if one's already happened or has been ruled out, then forgive me, but it was late night. But he needs to get that JMU quarterback out of the transfer portal because I assume that guy's really good. He put up great numbers using the portal, right? I mean, the guy's in the portal.
Yep, you're right.
Go get that guy. And I like Taven Jackson. I saw him on the field as a high school sophomore and told him, you're going to be Mr. Football in 2 years. I was wrong, but I wasn't wrong by much. And I saw his maybe his first start for the Hoosiers, and I think he could be a pro. He needs some seasoning, clearly, but as far as pro tools, he's got them. So I'm a Taven Jackson fan, but a new coach, new system, comes from JMU. The quarterback's available. You want to hit the ground running, go get that guy. That's how schools around the country are either maintaining what they have seamlessly or building quickly, is they're going in the transfer portal and finding the most important player in the field and bringing him in, which is why I've said I'm transitioning now a little bit, but this is why Florida State, as sad as it may be, let's not get lost in our feelings about Florida State, and let's not get lost in the fact that it sucks for Jordan Travis. It really, and he put a tweet out that night apologizing for breaking his leg. I mean, it sucks. You don't have to be heartless to recognize that Florida State got the situation screwed Florida State. It just sucks for them and for Travis and for all of his teammates. Sucks for all of them. But there's a reason why quarterbacks go where they go, and Michael Penix, all of a sudden, Washington's undefeated, and he's a Heisman candidate. Bo Nix, all of a sudden, Oregon's where they are. There's a reason these things happen. They happen because the quarterback makes or breaks a team. We saw with Penix here, the difference between Penix here and Penix not here was Tom Allen getting a $5 million contract and Tom Allen getting fired. So I don't want to hear that, but Florida State beat Florida barely, and they beat Louisville barely, and all they do is win. Yeah, they beat two. Florida's mediocre. Louisville is, I don't know what Louisville is, but they're not all that. I don't care what the record. I don't care. The eyeball test tells me Florida State is not going to give Michigan the best game. Alabama will, and it sucks, but I don't care about sucks. This reminds me of the Chuck Pagano Orange Wedge game against the Saints about 7 years ago when the Saints jumped out to a 24-0 lead, and the Colts came back and maybe even tied it, but the Saints won in overtime or something. And Pagano after the game was just so proud of his team. And I wrote, that was my Orange Wedge game where he just wanted to give orange wedges out. He was so proud of himself. Like, this is not Orange Wedge time. Hey, the Seminoles deserve an Orange Wedge. They went 13-0. Let's put them in the play. No. Without their quarterback, that's not the Seminoles. Okay, that's not them. So anyway, that was a long answer to say Curt Cignetti needs a quarterback.
He needs a quarterback. No, he does. And there's tons of quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Greg Doyle with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline, following everything for the Indianapolis Star. ESPN right now, 59.5% the Colts end up making the postseason. Right now, they are still the 7 seed. Last night, some interesting things happened between the Bengals and Jags. So 59%, Greg. Do you think there's a better chance they make the postseason, or less of a chance they make the postseason?
Better, much better than that. The New York Times, and everybody's got their computer analytics, and we're all guessing, just kind of like what I said about Jordan Travis and Florida State, and who's going to give the best game to Michigan. We're all guessing, but better than that because for several reasons. One is they've won 4 in a row, and they're about to get back Grover Stewart, and they've won 4 in a row despite the fact they can't stop the run. Well, they're about to stop the run again. Grover Stewart's coming back, and Juju Brents ought to be coming back at some point. They're going to get healthier, and unless somebody gets hurt, you never know. But right now they're looking better off the field. So, but then everybody else around them is coming back to the field. They're either losing or getting injured or both. I mean, Trevor Lawrence. All of a sudden, Jacksonville is now catchable. If Lawrence can't play, and we don't know, and I hope that's not the case, but if his ankle injury is 3 or 4 or 5 games, they're coming back to the field. The Bengals, they won last night. Jake Browning looked great, but they don't have a starting quarterback. They don't have their starting quarterback. All these teams are losing. The Steelers with Pickett. It's a mess. And, the Colts are with their second-team guy too, but they've shown they can win with their second-team guy. I just think I like their chances a whole lot. I think they better get in there comfortably, like 6, because Houston's coming. The Texans are coming. They're out of the play. I think the Texans are out right now.
Yeah, they're the 8 seed. Yeah.
Okay, well, they're coming. They're coming. So the Colts better not just think, well, as long as we stay ahead of the teams ahead of us, don't let them get, No, you stay ahead of the Texans, too, because they're coming.
Greg, last one for me, and I wouldn't ask this to everybody, but I know you can more than handle it. And this kind of dates back to our conversation we had just before the start of the Colts season. I'm sure indirectly you've probably addressed this in a column already. This from Richard. Ask Greg about how he said anyone betting the Colts over 3 wins were idiots.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that. I'm not speechless because I'm embarrassed. That's what bothers me about society is apparently you don't have the right to come out and see things you see and think things you think. And now you've got to apologize for thinking they were going to, because you knew, Richard, they were going to be this good. It's like my thought is when you watch the NCAA tournament bracket and you put your bracket online for the world to see, and somebody in the second round beat somebody else, and fans from that school tell you, I knew Tennessee was going to beat. I knew. No, you didn't. You're a Tennessee fan. Your bracket says they're going to win because you're a Tennessee fan. You didn't know. You thought you didn't know. So Richard, whoever, you didn't know they're going to win more than 3. Oh, I knew because I know you didn't know. You didn't know. And I'm telling you right now, what I misjudged, or at least what I didn't know about, was I didn't know Shane Steichen. I didn't know how good he was. Because I'm looking at this team, and this roster still isn't any good. It's not. It's just not. Alec Pierce finally had a good game. That's great. But the roster, it's not good. And Gardner Minshew he's got these Snicker bar moments, Snickers, where you need Snickers, where he just kind of loses interest and loses focus and just has like an entire quarter where he just disappears, and that quarter, could cost him. I don't know. I don't know what to say other than I'm not going to be right all the time. But I'll tell you three things I'm going to be all the time. I'm going to be really blunt. I'm going to say exactly what I think and not care what anybody else thinks, and I'm going to be charming as hell.
What are you working on?
Well, actually, I'm nothing much. I mean, I've got stories. I've got the IU game late tonight.
I guess anything in particular you want to tease, either you've written in the past week or so, or since we last talked, or anything on the horizon?
Well, here's something that matters to me. The 10-point coalition. I wrote about that about a week ago. I went walking with Reverend Harrison, and it's it's real. It's real. The things you see, it's real. I was on a podcast with Reverend Harrison a couple of days ago and was telling him, like, to his face, because I'm not – Reverend, I expected to see, stuff from The Wire, because I've only seen it on The Wire. I didn't grow up in that. I didn't, we're born where we're born. We have no control of where we're born, which is why I can't get behind closing the borders for immigrants. I could have been born in Mexico. I could have been born in El Salvador. I could have been born anywhere. I happened to be born, to who I was born to. I wasn't born into a world where I'm going to go see The Wire on a daily basis, but I saw it with the 10-point coalition. That's just the life. They call it the game and all that. You see it. And I wrote about it and that was one of the grittiest. It is the grittiest story I've ever written. But once you see something like that and you see what's going on in our city, right under our nose, I drive right past that intersection over I-65. It's literally beneath me as I drive over it. Never knew what was happening when the sun goes down. Right there. Didn't know. But once you know that thing, if you care, and a lot of people don't care, and that's the reason why they don't use turn signals. It's the reason why they don't get vaccines. They don't care about anybody but themselves. I get that. The world's full of people like you, and you go do you. That's fine. But if you care about what's going on around you, it's hard not to go back. And so if you can believe this, I'm not part of the 10-point coalition. I'm one of their walkers. I'm going when the schedule allows me 2-3 times a week. I'm walking, and I'm saying that to hopefully, inspire is the right word, instruct people, inform. They need help. There's 10 hot spots in this town, and they need help. They need people, and it's great if you're volunteering at walking dogs somewhere. I've done that before. It's great if you're volunteering. Whatever you're doing, that's great. But if you're looking for something to do, you got your evenings free, and you want to make a difference in the world in a way that not just might, but will save lives, go out there and see what they're seeing, and go back out there and go back out there and go back out there and be part of the community at a level that you never thought even imagined. Because this city is going to, at the best of the best, the Pacers and the Colts are going to lift us. They're going to take us to heights. The best of the best, they are. But much lower than that at the grassroots level, and I mean even below the grassroots level, it's kind of subterranean. It's underground. You don't know it's there unless you go looking for it. Go there. Go look for it, and you'll never be the same.
He is Greg Doyle, and he is the columnist at the Indianapolis Star, and he's with his dog Cap on this Tuesday morning. Greg, as always, thank you.
Yeah, which is why I really don't care about Richard and I are you going to apologize for being wrong about? No, I'm not going to. You know what? Because that's just sports, and I don't care. I care, but I don't care. I care about other stuff.
Greg, thank you.
All right, man. Bye.
That's Greg Doyle on the Payless Liquors hotline. Thad Matta in 10 with a Butler ticket giveaway as well, and DeForest Buckner to round things out at 9:45. I'm surprised he didn't tell us about his All-State baseball career.
Oh, I would have been fine with that as well.
Greg Doyle, by the way, just on the podcast.
Yeah.
He wanted this to be his walk-up.
Yeah, he did. Well, we'll have to remember that for next time, next month. Yeah, Greg Doyle, if you missed any of that, Thad Matta coming up in 5 minutes. DeForest Buckner back end of the show at about 9:45. Wanted to read a stat to you, KB, here before we get to Thad Matta. Now, this is a football stat. You ready to go?
Yeah, sure.
The fewest points allowed since week 9 in the NFL. Ooh. Okay? The Patriots.
I was going to say, aren't the Patriots?
Okay, no, this is allowed, so this is a defensive stat, okay? The Patriots have allowed just 46 points. They're 0-4. The Niners have allowed 49 points. They're 4-0. The Dolphins, 62 points. They're 3-1. The Ravens, 66 points. They're 3-1. And I bring it up because the Colts, since week 9, are fifth on this list. They have allowed just 67 points, and they're 4-0. To tell you how bad the offense is for the New England Patriots, and it's a good stat for the Colts.
What's our Patriots-Steelers over-under Thursday night? And by the way, the Colts
10.5.
The Colts need to cheer for the Patriots.
Yes, they do.
Colts need to cheer for the Patriots, as you know.
Cheer for Belichick one more time.
As absolutely foreign as that might sound to the Colts fan base. All right, Thad Matta next. Nice start to the season for Butler. We've got a Butler ticket giveaway at the end of the interview as well.
Luxair is the intelligent way.
Is broadcasting live from the DriveHubler.com studios. Wake up call, KB and Andy. Again, Greg Doyle, last segment. Thad Matta, Butler basketball head coach, coming up here in just a second. DeForest Buckner will join us at the back end of the show about 9:45. Miss any of our conversation. A lot of Pacer talk today. Find it at 1075thefan.com. All right, let's jump on out. Payless Liquors Hotline. Thad Matta and company. Butler, 3 straight wins. They got one tonight. We'll talk about that. And everything else happening with that Butler basketball program. Coach Matta joins us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Coach, good morning. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fine. Good morning to you guys.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Before we go forward, I guess let's go back. Wow, what a game against Texas Tech, but really 3 straight wins, that overtime thriller, high-scoring game, lots of offense against Texas Tech. You mentioned after the game how that was a big win for your program. I guess what do you make of where your team is, and what did that Texas Tech win do for you guys here early on in the season?
Well, it's funny. You compartmentalize your season, and as I told our guys, there's 3 parts of a college basketball season: preseason, the conference season, and postseason. And I look back to 2 weeks ago, just over 2 weeks ago, we were playing at Michigan State, and then going down to Orlando and playing the 3 games down there, going into the Texas Tech game, and this team's gotten better. And I think we've had some really good tests, and I thought the Texas Tech game, for November 30th or whatever it was one of the most high-powered college basketball games of the season. I was glad to be a part of it, and even happier to win the game. And in that game, we were up, we lost the lead, we got down, we came back, we fought, we had to go to overtime, we won the game, and I think that said a lot about our guys, and one of the things we preached is being a tougher program than we've been, and that was a resilient win against a really good basketball team.
Coach, I want to go one more back in that overtime win. I'm watching the end of regulation there. Texas Tech kind of has a sloppy possession. It's going nowhere, and then boom, all of a sudden they get a layup at the rim, and it's overtime. And you hop right up, or I don't know, you're probably standing up, and you start screaming, 5 minutes, guys, 5 more minutes. And you start kind of clapping your hands and totally get the psyche changed to overtime. Specifically, I guess, what did you think about your team in overtime? It's such a new-look bunch. You're putting the puzzle pieces together, and I just thought the resolve they showed in OT after, having a moment there in regulation where there's a little lapse late, I thought that was big time for you guys.
Yeah, it's funny because we had a foul to give at the end of the regulation, and I was debating whether I was going to have him foul, and we had a call for that, and I didn't do it, and when the guy made the layup, like you said, it was, as I'm watching the possession, it was a crazy possession. I didn't think they were going to get a great look off, and then they ended up shooting a layup, but I just tried to get our guys going and saying, and I'll be honest, I was enjoying coaching the game. I'm like, yeah, what the heck? 5 more minutes, let's go.
It was a fun game.
It was a good game, yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun game to be a part of, and I thought our guys did a great job coming out in overtime and really executing and defending, and obviously we made our free throws down the stretch.
Thad Matta with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Coach, it feels like your team has meshed pretty well with all the newcomers. Do you feel that way? And I guess what things are you working on to get better as you're very, very close here from hitting conference schedule?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I commend the players. I mean, I think they have done an excellent job of sort of coming together, and we're still a work in progress, but I think when you look at our veterans, the guys that came in, the older players, Posh, Ja, Pierre, Andre, those guys have done a really, really good job of being mature and along the lines with Jalen, who was here last year, John Michael, who was here last year, and they've created a good locker room. And that was something I know I talked about this earlier. That was really important to us when we went out and retooled this team. Guys that could get along, guys who were going to play for the right things, and I think in terms of where we got to keep growing, we got to keep learning and got to keep teaching the game of basketball. There's a lot of situations that we're messing up in games, and we get into Big East play, you cannot mess those up, and so those are things that we're looking at in terms of offense, defense, and film sessions, and working on in practice.
6-2 on the year, the Butler Bulldogs. Very nice start. Built a bit of a resume as well here. It's going to be Buffalo tonight at 8:30. Cal coming up on Saturday. We will give away a 4-pack of tickets to either tonight or Saturday. The winner's choice there to that one at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Coach, what specifically, so many positions you found impact guys in the portal. What specifically were you looking for in the transfer portal last offseason?
All of the above. No.
Everything.
Everything, to be honest with you. But, it started with character. It started with who they were as kids. But, we needed everything. And I like the fact that we've got a good mix of veterans and young guys. We needed shooting. We needed length and athleticism at the wing spots. We needed a couple different type of point guards. We needed a couple different types of big guys. And we got fortunate in terms of who we were able to get. And but really it was, we wanted all of the above, and we wanted to be versatile. And I think from Landon and Posh at the point, they're two different players. From Andre, Jalen, Bowden at the center position, they're all different, and even our wings have a different feel about them. So I like having guys that are hard to guard.
Well, and part of the reason I asked that question, when I came to practice like a month, I guess it probably would have been a month and a half ago, I think one of the first impressions I had walking in the gym was, oh my gosh, this looks like a football team. Like, you've got some dudes on the wing that I'm like, man, they're great basketball players, but if it doesn't work out, they're going to be the next line of the tight end try in the NFL.
Right. No, I mean, I've always been fortunate in teams I've coached that had those type of, athletic wings and long, and, and then you throw a guy in there like DJ who can really, really shoot the basketball. It's a nice mix right now. It really is.
How much do you look? The net rankings came out yesterday. Do coaches look at the net rankings, Coach, at all?
You know what? Somebody sent it to me. What were we, 36?
Yeah, actually, you're 38. You're a sandwich between Duke and Utah right now. That's where you're at, 38.
Okay. No, I think that's good. I know this. I didn't look at it last year.
Understandable. Yeah, I never know whether we have to look at it for our jobs.
To laugh at that.
Well,
but
it's okay.
It is a sign
he
of
brought
growth,
it up.
Coach.
Yeah, he brought it up. How do you guard against complacency the next two games? You'll be heavily favored, obviously, against Buffalo and California on Saturday.
Well, it's not about who we're playing right now. It's about us. And I think that's the thing, as we go into film and preparation, it's, as I told the guys yesterday, the 5 Ps, preparation prevents piss poor performance. And, getting these guys as prepared as we can possibly be, and not, as I said, not making the same mistakes. And you look at college basketball right now, I don't know what a heavy favorite is anymore after last weekend and all the upsets that are going on. These guys, I hope that they're on a mission. I know that, Buffalo's 1-7, but you look at the talent they've got, they scare the heck out of me. And then Cal, they're starting to hit their stride out there. That's going to be another heck of a game on Saturday for sure.
All right, Coach, we'll end with this. We've been teasing it all morning long. We got a 4-pack of tickets to give away to either tonight or coming up Saturday against Cal. I have a trivia question that I was going to throw to our listening audience, but I'm open-minded if you have another one. My trivia question was going to be, Thad Matta has been employed by 3 universities in the state of Indiana. Can you name the 3? Do you like that trivia question, or would you like to alter it a bit?
No, I like that. Okay. I like that. I'd be interested to see if people could get that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, if you're good with it, we are good with it, and I hope your team...
that's a heck of a question.
Okay, all right, good. Kylan, take those calls now, 317-239-1070. We will do that and give away a 4-pack to Hinkle coming up either tonight or Saturday. Coach, as always, we love the conversations with you. Great start to the season, and good luck this week.
I appreciate it, fellas. Good luck to you guys.
Thad Matta, Payless Liquors Hotline, the 3 universities. I guess, did I tell Kylan?
That's what I was wondering.
What the correct answer? How about you turn off your mic, Andy? You tell Kylan the correct answer so she knows. So we can.
I'll write it down. I'll send a note to her. How does that sound?
Yes, perfect there on that front here. I'm going to write on the back of this piece of paper here and not show the YouTube chat what it is. Kylan is smart enough, though. I think
she probably has it worked out. I'm not worried about her. There's the answer right there. Oh, someone's going to get that easily. Yeah, someone's going to get that. There you go.
Read my handwriting? Kylan, can you read that?
By the way, Thad's going to lose his voice. He's not going to make it.
I was wondering if he was sick.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he had the Tyrese Haliburton, but he hasn't been to South Beach. No, I think that's just what a coach sounds like in December, is it not?
Or just Tom Allen every day.
Or just Tom Allen every single day. Fair
I did
enough.
see last night you had your, Inside IU Basketball, or whatever the official name of that show is, Don Fisher. It was Yussia Roseman on with Fish, a Family Matter for Mike Woodson that took him away from the radio show.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
I don't know if that will impact anything tonight from an IU standpoint, but again, 9 o'clock tip for the Hoosiers as Butler is favored by 22.5. Indiana is a 6.5 point underdog tonight in Ann Arbor.
If they win, and you would imagine Butler would win if they take the tickets for tonight against Buffalo or California, Cal on Saturday. I mean, if we send someone a family 4-pack and they win, that's 2-0 since we've done this. I'm thinking Butler might want to, invest in 4 tickets, and we just do this just about every game, right? I mean, we'd be 2-0 after this weekend.
I did laugh when he said he didn't look at the net ratings last year.
Well, fair enough.
It's been quite the 180 here to start for Butler. Still a long way to go, but they've got a couple of really nice wins here already this season. To get back in the Pacers conversation, Andy, again, last night, such a fun night, such a great atmosphere inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I thought this was really an interesting one brought up here by Matt. And Matt goes, best thing about the game last night, other NBA players got to see what it is like playing with Haliburton and how great the environment can be in Indy. I didn't even think of that. It was not top of mind for me necessarily walking away from last night. And I don't know how high on the priority list it is, but it should be on the list. I do think that is something to keep an eye on. And is that going to be the end-all, be-all in the Pacers attracting a free agent? Probably not. But is it going to be on the pro list? If you are an NBA player, and you're going to see it Thursday as well, when the Pacers are in the semis against Vegas, but specifically to your home environment last night, I do think something like that matters. When you see Haliburton, you see the environment, a young team, a growing team, that's intriguing.
I don't care as much about the what the stadium looked like as much. What I would care about if I'm a player, besides the money, of course, and money obviously will be the main thing.
Yeah, money and weather supersede everything.
If you're big, if you're Joel Embiid, you're good to play with, but you're a big, right? If you're playing with a James Harden, you're never going to get the basketball because he's dribbling the ball out at the top of the key. Tyrese Haliburton is a guy that is going to get you the ball. I mean, when we look at specifically, and I know there's been the conversation there, Buddy Hield, keeping him, trading him, new contract, whatever it may be, and then Benedict Mathurin, is he going to, kind of be the Robin to the Batman? And I hate that analogy, but people understand it. Is he going to be the running mate with what Haliburton is doing? If you're a perimeter player who is catch and shoot, if you're on the wing, there's no one better in the NBA than Haliburton to set you up. I thought Carlisle after the game said it. He's like, if he has to go out and score 30 or 40 for us in a game, you'll see that he will go out and he will make it an effort to go score 30 or 40 points in a game. But if they need him to throw 15 assists and have 0 turnovers or have 1 turnover, whatever it may be, he'll do it. I think that's a great point. I wrote it down. We never got to it, but I think that's probably a point this season, maybe not even last night, is this year, whether it be Team USA basketball stuff, it be the Pacers, if they can make the playoffs and be a team that does something in the playoffs, and then you combine the in-season tournament and, trying to get on TV as much as possible. I think the biggest thing that will happen to the Pacers this year, unless they make some magical run, will be they are established as a team that absolutely has a young superstar in this game. It's not, we don't know too much about him, or we don't know too much about Haliburton, or how has he played against some of the better competition. None of that nonsense. It is a 23-year-old guy who has a max deal, who likes being here. And, we've talked about the Colts needing to go find an elite wide receiver, right? You've been on that conversation for the last few months, and that's not, denigrating Michael Pittman Jr. or anything else. But in the same token, going out and getting another star on this team eventually for the Pacers. Didn't you give them 18 months? 12 to 18 months is something that you're going to need to do. I mean, Haliburton just seems like if I made a list of guards to play with, distributors to play with, guys that don't need to hog the ball, I mean, he's top 2 or 3 on the list, is he not?
Yeah, and again, I think something that really stands out to me about him is he has such a great feel for when to distribute and when to be the lead scorer. And that balance, I think, is so difficult. I mean, hell, it's a big growth of Benedict Mathurin right now. How do you incorporate a little bit of that into your game? And, it's one thing to score. It's another thing to kind of close in this league. Can you be a legit closer when the scouting report now screams, hey, we're doing everything to get the ball out of your hands, and we're putting unquestionably our best defender on you, and the opposing team is obviously locked in, et cetera, et cetera. And just look at last night. He has a slow first half. He looked ill to me. He clearly was. Needed an inhaler at halftime, he said. And what does he come out in the third quarter? He puts on the scoring hat, and he scores big time for you to get you back in that game, give you the lead. And then again, in the fourth quarter, where things started to slow down from him scoring-wise, boom, he hits you with that 4-point play. Such a magical night, really, inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And needed for the franchise. You got to feel those moments, all of those things. Haliburton provided that for you, and this team provided for you. I thought Rick Carlisle made a great point to us yesterday. We've got to have the urgency like we're down 10. I thought even when things weren't great last night for the Pacers, I thought they played like that for 48 minutes.
Can I play a piece of sound for you? I meant to play this after Greg Doyle, and I totally forgot. We were kind of backed up against it. But I thought this was uber interesting, and Doyle even alluded to it earlier when we had him on at about 8:30 or so. Carlisle postgame talked about the importance of the win for like the city and everything else. And I found that to be kind of enlightening and interesting, him bringing everyone together, saying, hey, it's just not about the 15 guys here. It's just not about the coaching staff. It's about everyone in turning this organization around.
Well, it's so important for our city, our franchise, and our players. The thing you don't realize, you see an NBA team and you see 15 guys or 13 guys that are dressed or 15 or whatever it is. And you don't realize all the people behind the scenes that are working to, fill the building and, keep the court, looking great and serviceable. I mentioned that before the game, what Mel Raines and her crew did. And so it's uplifting, and it's cool right now. The Colts are on a winning streak. The Pacers, we're headed to Vegas. There's a lot of good things going on in the city, and so I'm just happy for our fans.
Yeah, I think it's something very similar to what Greg Doyle honestly said to us a little bit earlier about this time. And Andy, specifically, let's go to the franchise and the team aspect to everything Carlisle just laid out there. The harsh reality of where the Pacers were at a few years ago, and to use a Rick Carlisle phrase, he called it a dark spot for the franchise. The harsh reality was you had to lose to rebuild. No one wants to lose, but if you want to rebuild, particularly as a small market NBA team,
you have to.
You have to lose. Yeah. So they did lose. Now, not necessarily by choice. I don't know, although they did rest Haliburton in some key moments, but they had to lose for them to realize, hey, guys, Turner and Sabonis, it ain't working. We got to blow that up, okay? So they do that. They get Haliburton, okay? Now we need to get some high draft picks, okay? We need to get a Mathurin. We need to get some other pieces. They obviously did that. Now they've reached the rebuild phase of now you win. Now it's time to win. And so for your franchise and your team, it's important now to get in moments like last night, not only experience them, not only get to those, game pressure moments, everyone on their feet late, but then you walk off the court as a winning team. That's now the next step in this rebuild. And the best part about it, it's not like they're locked into this core. I mean, yes, there are a lot of pieces you like, but they still have flexibility to make some moves moving forward.
And they'll need to do that. That's a fair,
sure.
It's a fair take to this is a great start, but they'll have to get another start or someone's going to have to emerge.
Right. Yeah, there are still other things to do, but at this juncture of it all, when Buddy Hield's never been in the playoffs, Haliburton's been so open about, I haven't won in years, guys. Miles Turner hasn't been in a playoff game in X amount of years. Even your younger guys, Neesmith, Mathurin, Neesmith in particular, I mean, they won in Boston, obviously, but it's not like Neesmith was playing meaningful minutes in those playoff games. These guys need to feel that. And last night was a big part of that, and they'll get another opportunity Thursday and potentially Saturday as well.
You talk about in the NFL, KB, you got to find your quarterback. Like if you can find your quarterback, you can start to build around him, and like everything looks up when you find your quarterback, unless you're the Chargers and you find your quarterback and you just lose and score 6 points with your quarterback. Don't you feel that way with Haliburton? That one of the first big steps in any organization is, whether it be the draft or free agency, trade, etc., you have to nail getting that guy that is going to be the face of your program, and then you go forward with that. And I know there's been a lot of kind of down the middle of, well, the Kings got what they wanted, and I understand. The Kings have become a better team.
Sabonis had a triple-double last
night. Yeah, and Sabonis has been good for them. But in this trade, the Pacers got the thing that is the most difficult to get. And they got the superstar, the young star.
It's a great point.
That changes everything. And again, that's not easy. You can draft that, but the draft is also sticky sometimes. We understand that. You can get some guys that just simply do not work out. But Haliburton is that guy, and they built around him, and they built a nice team around him. And to me, they're being shown as one of the fun up-and-coming young teams in the NBA. That is going to be the motto of the Pacers this season.
DeForest Buckner in 20 minutes. The winner of our Butler ticket giveaway was Eric, the 3 schools Thad Matta has been employed by. Butler quite often. Obviously, he just came from Indiana. Remember the administrative role he was with Mike Woodson's staff, and the first coaching gig of Thad Matta's collegiate resume was out in Terre Haute for the Trees of Indiana State, who are having a very nice start to the season.
Yes, they are.
We talked about that with Greg on Friday. Nice start to the year, not only for Indiana State, but Evansville and Ball State as well. Indiana State in particular, though, very, very good for Josh Schertz and company in the MoVal. All right, before we get to the pop quiz, before we get to DeForest Buckner, let's morning check down it.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, yeah, Pacers winners 120-112. That's been the story this morning here on the program. Pacers move to 11-8 on the season. They'll be in Vegas on Thursday. Probably flying out today.
5 o'clock tip early.
Boy, it's such an odd tip, and it's on a Thursday too. It's not a Friday or a Saturday.
We're kind of back in the bubble days. You had the weird tip times in the bubble.
That's exactly what it is. 2 different calls that I want to play. The big 3, the big and one that everyone's talking about by Haliburton in the fourth quarter. Here's how it sounded on Bally's TV.
That's the important thing.
Horford is out there on him. Buddy will set the screen. They back off. Haliburton for 3.
Oh, yeah! A potential 4-point play there.
Oh, I love the primal scream, Now, here's what it sounded. Clip 13 here. Here's what it sounded on the Pacer Radio Network right here on The Fan.
Both teams will be in the penalty from here on out. Bounce comes in near sideline. Bruce Brown has it. He'll lob it back up top. Haliburton working off a Turner screen. Horford switches out. Haliburton bouncing and looking and launching and scoring! 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 And a foul! A 3-ball and a foul!
Mark Boyle is a treasure, and he was on last night's call, of course. 122-112, a big flurry late. Boston punched Indiana pretty squarely in the jaw there. Late second quarter, I would say early fourth quarter, Pacers punched right back. And as Andy said, it will be a semifinal game coming up on Thursday in Vegas. All right, last night, let's go up to West Lafayette before we get to the big Monday nighter. It was Purdue bouncing back. They did fall to 4 in the rankings, by the way. But they respond from their loss to Northwestern, 87-69. Frankly, it wasn't even that close over Iowa. Fran got teed up 8 minutes into the game. I think I had it at 9 minutes, if I believe correctly, yesterday.
God bless him.
Zach Edey, 25-12, missed one shot from the field. Lance Jones, 17 points.
He was good last night
for the Boilers. Now they're off to Toronto, north of the border. Zach Edey, I guess, a bit of a homecoming against Bama coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, quickly, college basketball again. Butler tonight, 8:30, Fox Sports 1 against Buffalo. IU at Michigan, 9 o'clock. Get your Peacock subscription ready. Also, a couple different things in the NFL. Bengals over the Jags. Trevor Lawrence going down there in the fourth quarter. That's a big one. So we'll see what happens with that now. 6-6 are the Bengals, kind of moving up there in the AFC. Browning was fantastic. We've talked a ton about that game. And Shaq Leonard officially yesterday. Now, I know he was in the building at Gamebridge last night. He officially, with the Philadelphia Eagles, I would imagine, would be there today in Philly, providing them some linebacker depth as they get ready for the latter parts of the season in Philly.
More into those Colts playoff chances, Shaq Leonard, etc., coming up here tomorrow. Jake points this out. I don't think I've heard Boyle so animated than on that 4-point play. Yeah, Boyle's not one for fake animation by any means. I think that adds to how everyone is feeling in that building last night. It's a great quality in a radio broadcaster to kind of feel the energy and match that in how he paints.
Okay,
them.
I should know this, but Kylan, can you go to clip 14? This is the Neesmith dunk. I think this is where he does the blackjack is getting ready for him. Okay, I think I'm doing this blind. Okay, but let's just play it. Go ahead.
The crowd has worked itself into a frenzy with 52 seconds to play. White drives at the other end and throws it away. Haliburton has it. 46 seconds to play. Up the floor. Neesmith dunks. 9-point lead. I see the blackjack table. I see the roulette wheel. And I see Eddie Gill, the slot machines.
That is so good. I know Mark Boyle hates the call, but I think back to the mid-'90s when he drops the ding-dong, the witch is dead when they beat the Knicks.
Oh, he doesn't like that?
He doesn't like that
Oh, that's
call.
great.
And he adds to the call, as Patrick Ewing misses the bunny, we're going to Disney World. And I think it's such a great call because, again, Pacers, Knicks, ding dong, the witch is dead. That is the team that has been the thorn in your side. And then we're going to Disney World. They are going to play Orlando in the next round. I love that Boyle call. I know he hates it, but outstanding there. And thank you for teeing that one up. All right, we'll do a quick pop quiz and get to DeForest Buckner to round things out.
Join JMV Thursday at AJ's Bar and Grill on
Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with KB and Andy. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
All right, first pop quiz of the week. I'm ready to go. Last week was a good week for the pop quiz.
It was. We had some pretty impressive efforts.
We did. So let's see how we do this week. Reminder, coming up 9:45, a little bit less than 15 minutes, DeForest Buckner will be joining us here on the Wake Up Call on the Fan on this Tuesday. KB, what number caller do you want to go to here? I'll let you choose today.
Pacers impressive last night. Let's go with fast fingers today and reward caller number 1. Kylan, who we got?
We've got Jackson on the line.
Jackson,
how you doing, man?
Hey, good. How you guys doing?
Jackson, we are doing great. The efforts were impressive last week. The standard has been set high. Don't let us down.
I'll try not to.
All right, well, this one doesn't look too bad, so let's...
What do you mean? You got 2 hockey questions and random baseball. This looks brutal.
Yeah, but it's a Ricky Henderson baseball. People know him, but it is NHL. Maybe he likes hockey. I don't know. All right, question number 1, Jackson. Let's get this baby going.
Yeah, big Canadians fan here, Jackson on the line.
There are two undefeated teams. We're talking college football here, Michigan and Washington, and 2 one-loss teams in Texas and Alabama. That makes up the 2023 college football playoff. In the 9 previous college football playoffs, who has won the championship game more times? Undefeated teams or one-loss teams?
I'm gonna say one loss team.
Okay.
Jackson's a veteran. He knows what he's doing here. Bengals picked up a rare Monday night win as they edged the Jags in overtime last night, Jackson. Who was the Bengals head coach the last time they won a Monday night game on the road? Was it Forrest Gregg, Sam Weish, Bruce Coslett, or Marvin Lewis?
Wow. You're going way back on those first 2.
What's Marvin Lewis doing these days?
I'm gonna go. Let's go with. Surely they won one under Marvin Lewis. He was there forever.
You sure? Jackson, you alive?
Yeah. What was it? What you guys say?
You sure about Marvin?
No. Yeah, let's go with Sam Weish. They were pretty good under him.
All right, question number 3. On Sunday night, the New York Rangers picked up the 3,000th win in franchise history. Now, 5 of the NHL's original 6 teams have now won at least 3,000 games. Name the only original 6 team that has not reached 3,000 wins. Is it the Maple Leafs, the Red Wings, the Blackhawks, or the Boston Bruins?
Say him one more time. I'm sorry.
Maple Leafs,
Red Wings.
Red Wings, Blackhawks, Bruins.
Let's go with the Blackhawks.
All right, number 4 here. 45 years ago today, Tony Esposito, that's future Hall of Fame goaltender, made his NFL debut with the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens tied the Bruins 2-2 in the game. Named the future Hall of Famer who scored both goals for Boston. Was it Phil Esposito? Isn't there a Dan Esposito out there? Phil Esposito. Johnny Busick? Any relation to Jenny, the Pacers assistant, Scotty? Bobby Orr or Derek Sanderson?
What year was this?
Well, this was, 55 years ago today, of course, Jackson.
Let's go with Bobby Orr.
All right, last one. Question number 5. On this day in 1984, the Oakland A's traded future Hall of Famer outfielder Ricky Henderson to the New York Yankees. Named the future World Series MVP.
I love this guy.
The A's received in the trade from the Yanks. Ray Knight, Dave Stewart, Pat Borders, Jose Rio.
World Series MVP?
Yep.
I think Ray Knight won a World Series MVP.
All right, let's see how he did here. Jackson strikes me as a smart dude.
You did all right, Jackson.
Yeah. Okay. In the 9 previous college footballs, who's won the championship game? College football playoffs. Who's won the championship game more time? Undefeated teams or one-loss teams?
Yeah, he was right. One-loss teams, 5-4. One-loss teams, winners there. That's pretty good by him.
All right, and number 2, we thought Marvin Lewis tried to push him in a different direction. He did go down the right path. That would be Sam Weish, the last coach for the Bengals when they won a Monday night road game.
Yeah, the original 6 in the NHL who has not won 3,000 games, the Chicago Blackhawks, 2,866. Did not know that.
3 start for Jackson. The slip-up came on 4 and 5. 2 hockey questions? Scotty, dear Lord. It was not Bobby Orr's. Phil Esposito, Tony's brother.
Yeah, there you go.
And Jose Rijo there for number 5.
1990
Jackson,
World Series
thank you for the
MVP. Good job, Jackson. Yeah, fine. 3 out of 5 is not bad. You missed the hockey questions.
DeForest Buckner, the Colts' big defensive tackle. He joins us here to round things out. It's the wake-up call with KB and Andy on a little bit of a gloomy, overcast Tuesday here in Indy.
95 and 107.5, The Fan.
DeForest Buckner going to join us here in the next couple minutes. Kylan said, what's your pump-up song? And I didn't have an answer. Plus, a lot of these songs, you got to get the instrumental or the Walmart version, the edited version on a lot of these songs.
I would go Lose Yourself by Eminem for myself.
This, I can see that. You fit that mold for some reason. This song right here was popular what year? I'm trying to think. It's probably 6-7 years ago, or was it even longer? Was it a decade ago?
For some reason, I'm like saying like 2000 and... I'm going to go
It was a very popular
2009. I don't know.
It's a very popular song. I like this song. So there you go.
Kylan filling in for Mark Dykton, doing an outstanding job. Again, DeForest Buckner going to join us here in a couple
Can I say that's really impressive? 2009 is when it was released.
Really?
Well done.
Gosh, I'm not known, I think, as a music connoisseur.
Yeah, but KB, what were you doing in 2009? Usually a song can fit what you were doing in your life, whatever that was.
This is a dead giveaway. I was a freshman in college.
That's what there it is. Bingo.
Lots of good feelings.
Yeah, that is to say the least. So.
I was trying to get free drinks at 4th Street Live in Louisville, Kentucky, so we were doing similar things there. Before we get Buckner, he's going to call us. We haven't played any. The Colts Roundtable was on last night. I figure it's worth playing, right? Shane Steichen just talking. Sometimes on that show, he lets his hair down a little bit, more so than just a little bit.
I was going to say stress on a little bit there.
Yeah, not a lot, but maybe just a little bit. Here's Steichen on just the wild nature of what we saw on Sunday against the Titans.
Wildness, it's probably in my recent memory number one. It had everything to it. It was a roller coaster of a football game. I'm sure the fans loved watching it. Probably gave some people some I don't know what the word is, but people
some heartburn.
Some heartburn. There you go. But you know what? Found a way to win it there at the end, which was the obviously the key step.
It is funny that you led into that by Shane letting his hair down a little bit. That is one of the more candid I feel like I've ever heard him with an answer. I know he was relatively candid with Jake and I when we had him on back during the combine, but yeah, that is, Shane Steichen's been in the league for a long time. I know he's still a young head coach, but obviously he strikes as a dude that remembers all the games. And that one was wild. It's probably a great question to ask.
We need to start. We need to start playing the locker room stuff that the Colts.com puts out.
Yeah, the next post-game locker room speech.
Because he was all jacked up and fired up and everything else.
He was cussing in that, right? Did they have to bleep a couple out?
I think you have to bleep a couple things out, which no doubt we can do. Let's go on out to the Payless Liquors hotline. DeForest Buckner, Mr. Everything for the Colts. He joins us here to end the program on this Tuesday. DeForest, how are you, man? What's going on? How's your morning going?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing today?
Man, we thank you so much for joining us. Let me ask you this. Obviously, a lot today has been about the Pacers' big win and Tyrese Haliburton. Did you watch any of that game last night?
I'm going to be honest, no, I didn't catch anything. Any other game last night, yeah.
Now, were you? I am curious about this. When you play the opponent hell, you got two young kids. You probably just want to sleep. When you play the opponent coming up, maybe you have three kids now. Do you have two or three?
Two. I got two boys.
Do you like watching Monday Night Football if you know you're playing that opponent?
Oh no, yeah. I like getting getting ahead on the film and everything. So I definitely was tuned into the game last night.
Okay,
kind of a crazy one. We were talking about this, and DeForest Buckner joined us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. We were just talking about this before you hopped on. Shane Steichen described that as one of the wilder games he can remember. You guys in Tennessee, of course, on Sunday. Would that rank up there for you in terms of just all the ebbs and flows and the craziness to that one?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely one of the crazier games I've ever been a part of. Just the back and forth and all the crazy stuff happening. I mean, the back-to-back block punts on special teams, and then them shanking the extra point, going into OT. It was just a wild game.
DeForest Buckner with us here on the Wake Up Call. You guys, I think the number's like 17 sacks in the last three games. How have you seen, I guess, how much have you enjoyed watching some of the young guys there on that defensive line kind of grow up here in the last month and a half of the season?
Oh, no, it's been great to see. Obviously, drafting Doyel and Quiddy, those guys, we could see Chris's, obviously his vision of the D-line and everything come to flourish in the past a couple of weeks, just investing in those guys. And just the growth that I've seen, so far, all the hard work that they put in, it's starting to, come into fruition. It's been amazing to see how it's all been turning out.
He is number 99. He is DeForest Buckner. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. I know Grover Stewart's been in the building for the last couple of weeks. He will make his return coming up on Sunday. DeForest, I kind of joked, half jokingly, half not, that you guys should have like rose petals out to welcome Big Grove back. What will it mean to have big number 90 next to you here now moving forward?
No, yeah, obviously Grove has been a big key part of our team, part of our defense, and he definitely gives us a little bit of relief in the run game. You know what I mean? Him plugging up the middle has been great for us over the past couple of years, so it's going to be great to have his presence back out there, making some plays.
If you don't mind, I want to go back to a conversation back from the spring. And I remember asking you, this was kind of right after Stephon Gilmore had been traded to Dallas, and kind of asking you a question of like, you've got a resume that if you wanted to say, hey, I'd like to be on a contending team, I think Chris Ballard would have honored that. And you made it very clear that you thought something could happen here, like this year. And lo and behold, you're damn right. I mean, here they are 7-5, and you've got an opportunity to make the playoffs. What made you feel that in the spring when seemingly, and my hand is raised, I was one of the numerous people that didn't think that was possible?
Yeah. I mean, just the growth with the guys on the team. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously the past couple of years we've had a really young team, and but then, this year, going into this year, a lot of those young guys got a lot of experience under their belt. You know what I mean? Playing a lot, especially early in their careers, and just seeing what those guys are capable of doing in practice each and every day. I knew we could do something special, and even with the adversity that we obviously faced this year with some guys being down, and Anthony going down early, you just see how guys rise to the occasion, stepping up, next man up mentality. We're obviously in the race to the playoffs, so we put ourselves in a great position, and just taking it 1 week at a time, especially with a great coach like Shane. Obviously leading the way. I mean, I kind of just put all my trust in Ballard, and everything's starting to pan out.
You mentioned a great coach in Shane Steichen, and listen, no matter what happens, at least for me, in the final, 5 games here, I think Coach Steichen and his staff and, kind of the feel around the program is definitely a lot better. What makes him a great coach in your mind?
No, yeah, I mean, he's definitely all ball. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he thinks the ball 24/7, but, he's a competitor. That's what I really loved when he came in. It was just all about competing each and every day, whatever you do. And, that mentality that winning mentality that he has, obviously it's contagious. And, the guys were just fully bought in to the culture that he brought in. And, he's just showing it. We're showing it especially the past couple of weeks, all those tight games, being able to finish and really, dig deep and, play for one another. I mean, it's been great with what I've been able to see throughout the team, just the transition from last year to this year, the mentality.
He is DeForest Buckner, in my opinion, should be well on his way to another Pro Bowl nod here coming up later this month, and he's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. DeForest, a couple of weeks ago, Zaire Franklin goes in the game at fullback. When is your offensive package coming, and what would that look like?
You know what? I'm definitely waiting for my number to be called, and whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be a fun play. But hopefully I can get back in the end zone, huh?
Now you've got the body type. I'm kind of thinking you could do a couple of things. You could full back it up, but you could inline it as a tight end, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I can do it all. I can block, catch, whatever you need me to do.
Now, I should know this. Did you ever I don't think you've been in on offense with the Colts. I could be wrong on that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you ever do it in San Fran?
Nope, not at all.
Really? Wow. Oh my God, this is a must. I mean, you gotta have bake some cookies for Shane here coming up in the next few weeks.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, if you're in the flat and Minshew's gonna throw you the ball, you got to catch it. They can't put you in the game and get you wide open in the end zone and then you drop it, right? I mean, there's a lot of pressure there. That's not just blocking. There's a lot of pressure for you to catch the ball.
There's definitely a lot of pressure catching the ball.
Now,
Sure.
you have those big clubs, and I feel like, last year, maybe it was a couple of years ago, like you had an extra padding on one of them. Would you have to remove some of that? I would be a little, are you basket catching it?
No, I can still catch the ball with the thing on my hand. Yeah.
You got to watch out using the body. It'll bounce off of you.
There's zero doubting that. Again, DeForest Buckner's with us. DeForest, last one from me. Last year you battled, I think it was an elbow injury that, maybe would have needed Tommy John if you would have been more of a, thrower and everything. How, for our audience out there, what does your body feel like 12 games into an NFL season?
It feels like I've been in an accident. No, but yeah, you definitely the wear and tear on your body throughout the season. Definitely weighs on you. But obviously at this point in the season, everybody's had some type of injury, dealing with some type of injury. You know what I mean? So you can't really use it as an excuse. You just have to, just adjust in how you do certain things or with techniques and stuff like that, just to kind of obviously get through it all. But yeah, it's really just at that point, obviously just the wear and tear on you physically. Mentally, you got to be, obviously being able to push through certain things. And yeah, it's not just you. It's just, it's the entire NFL. At this point in the season, everybody's got something they're dealing with.
All right, 2 quickies, and we'll get you out of here. DeForest Buckner with us here on this Tuesday on The Fan. You mentioned watching the Monday Night Football game last night. You'll be in Cincinnati on Sunday. What did you see with the Bengals? Obviously, Jake Browning, their backup quarterback, had quite a game last night.
No, yeah, just the way they've been able to obviously rally and go blow for blow with Jacksonville last night, on the road. What they're able to do just shows the type of, the guys they have in their locker room, the type of team they got, a really gritty team, and it doesn't matter the injuries or whatever it is, they pulled through and they got some things going, and obviously they have a lot of trust in Jake Browning, so it's going to be a really good game, especially them being at home. Coming against us, and they're right in the mix of being in the hunt. So this is going to be definitely one of those games that's going to be a physical, obviously physical game, and we got to be locked in all 3 phases.
When you watch Monday Night Football, is it Buck and Aikman on ESPN, or do you do Manning Cast? Which one do you do?
I kind of go, back and forth.
Okay.
To both. But just usually the normal.
The normal. Would you want to be on the Manning Cast?
If they asked me.
Okay.
No, for sure, yeah.
He is DeForest Buckner, and as Andy said, Colts and Bengals coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock. DeForest, a lot of respect for how you've handled things over the last year or so amidst kind of all the chaos, and you certainly have felt the rewards of it this year with this team at 7-5. So congrats on the team success and individually as well. Stay healthy and have a great rest of the year, man.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Have a great day.
DeForest Buckner right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Speaking of Monday Night Football, the latest from NFL Network, there's optimism. Trevor Lawrence's injury and ankle sprain isn't bad.
Okay.
And that's a credit to the Jags' QB flexibility. Not the first time he's been rolled and avoided serious injury. I totally forgot about this play last year against the Lions, how ugly that one looked.
So he's had like 3 of these at least in his career that I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, that play last year against the Lions, he gets rolled up on late in the first half. I mean, it looks broken. I don't know how.
Right.
It just looks
high ankle
awful.
sprain, whatever it may be. Right.
And this guy's been really durable throughout his career. So
wonder if he misses a game though. Again, they're at Cleveland. That's coming up on Sunday.
Just judging him leave the field, it looked like he would have to miss at least a game. But certainly his injury watch in the AFC South race. A lot of implications on that one.
Fun shows here. I mean, all the Pacers reaction. Thad Matta, Greg Doyle, Buckner joining us. 1075thefan.com.
Podcast will be jammed with that. It has been a fun week. We'll throw in some Pacers stuff on top of that as well, and continue to get you set for what should be a great week. The rest of this week here on The Fan. The Wake Up Call with KB and Andy, Kevin Bowen, Andy Sweeney, Kylan Talley signing off here. Everybody have a great Tuesday.